Hi, Robin. Could you please unmute?
Okay. We have a quorum. The meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Education Operations Committee will come to order November 29th, 2023. In the District Educational Services Center, Conference Room E, and also available on remote hybrid conferencing. Public comments will be accepted between 3 and 3:30. We had no public comments that we received. And I'd like to start with the first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of agenda. Mr. Nay,
Chair, I'm gonna make a motion. We approve the agenda.
I didn't get that.
He made a motion to approve.
He made a motion. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? I have one bit of a change I'd like to make on the order of the operational expectations. We'd like to do OE1, OE3, and OE11. OE10 and then OE11 first, because Dr. Bruner has to go to the last review of the books. So is there any problem with that, Mr. Nay?
None.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. So that what gets us right to OE1.
Great. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do OE1 Global Operational Expectation. Thank you, board members, for the opportunity to present here today. The district diligently works to safeguard its public image and community trust, which I believe is reflected in the 72% voter approval for the $439 million bond referendum. Our initiatives reflect a commitment to transparency and engagement. Efforts include BCSD University, a new program fostering community understanding and ambassadorship, commencing a brand refresh that will align our image and messaging with the district's strategic plan, ultimately impacting recruitment, retention, and outcomes. The posting of FOIA responses ensure transparency, while a digital presence, including 30+ school websites, attracts over 1.1 million page views on our district website alone. In addition to our campaigns, our 250+ videos produced by Mr. Lopes received over 765,000 views. Our team's work on these has garnered awards. Social media engagement has increased, reaching 1.2 million feeds on Facebook. Dr. Rodriguez's extensive engagements with civic groups and leaders, along with student and parent meetings, underscore our commitment to community involvement. And finally, CLOC provides vital insights at board meetings and on their portion of our website, maintaining transparency. Our dedication to effective communication to include media engagement and protecting our public image remains unwavering. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, if you have any questions.
Mr. Nay, do you have any questions?
I do not, other than for these recommended motions at the end of each one of these executive summaries, we have a few, right? Is this just for this committee, or is this to move the exception of these to the full board?
Now, this is a recommendation that the committee can make.
And you all can move it to consent agenda if you all are.
If we all agree, if we have unanimous
consent
agreement on the OE, then it can move to consent agenda. If there's not unanimous, then it will have to go into board business action.
under your committee report.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
And Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to recommend that we move OE1, Global Operational Expectation, to recommend board approval?
Except.
So can we make a motion to move to consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair, I recommend that we move the operational expectations, one, global operation expectations to the consent agenda for the full board.
I second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Move to OE3.
Great. So for OE3, the treatment of stakeholders, I'm going to focus a little bit on our organizational effectiveness goals, highlighting some key accomplishments. In terms of protecting confidential information, all employees completed mandatory FERPA and ethics training. Automatic filters and secure procedures prevent emailing confidential data. FOIA request responses were thoroughly reviewed to ensure necessary redaction of sensitive information. And we do not publicly comment on student disciplinary, personnel, or law enforcement matters. As for handling complaints effectively, complaints are channeled appropriately to district staff or principals, escalating to the superintendent if unresolved. In terms of cultivating an inclusive organizational culture, our platform BCSD Connected engages parents and staff in decision-making, exemplified by the successful fiscal year 23-24 budget preparation feedback. We also had extensive community involvement via focus groups and surveys for our strategic brand refresh and communication review, receiving significant citizen survey responses. We also leverage various platforms like social media to include videos and the district website for transparent and timely communication. These initiatives underscore our commitment to safeguarding confidentiality, addressing concerns efficiently, and fostering an environment that values input and transparent communication. Okay, to answer any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Nate, do you have any questions?
Negative, no questions.
We're looking at OE3.
That's concerning communications.
A treatment of stakeholders, OE3. We've already went through OE1. Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions on OE3? Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions on OE3?
No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend to the consent agenda, operational expectations 3, treatment of stakeholders to the full board.
Do you like to second that?
I'm not been here, so I think.
Okay, I will second that motion.
I get it for no.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Any going to abstain? Motion carries. All right. Thank you. And that,
Mr.
Yes.
Chair,
yes, sir.
in regard to OE3 2, 11, whatever, the budget combined, can I ask some questions on that? There's lots of acronyms on there that I don't know what they are. So I just wanted to ask some questions about that before we move on to OE4.
Okay.
Is that one that we just voted on?
The one we just voted on?
Yeah, I don't want to question. I just want some definitions of the acronyms.
Okay. FERPA, want to tell them what FERPA means?
Yes, so FERPA and GT and DECA and Model UN, and what are some of these? PBIS?
Yeah, FERPA is the federal guidelines for protecting student records and privacy.
Awesome.
FERPA is the federal guidelines protecting student privacy and records and how they can be released.
Gotcha.
And the next one that you'd like to have?
DECA? DECA?
Student leadership.
I'll have to.
Student club. So the DECA is a club that most of our high schools probably sponsor. Essentially, these are business-oriented clubs where students are traveling and presenting different business proposals and models that they come up with. And Model UN is very similar, except its spin is kind of on social studies.
Okay. PBIS programs?
So this Matt Hunt, PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. That is the part of the culture and climate of the schools in terms of how they reinforce expected behaviors. A lot of times there's a system involving a matrix that talks about the expected behaviors. And then the administrators and teachers in the building and the classified staff in the building will use that matrix to redirect behavior because it's what's expected when you're in that particular culture.
Awesome, thank you. The last one is MOD. It said MOD at May River High School. What is MOD?
Same four, it's on, it's combined student advisory budget discussion from April
Oh,
4th.
it's in the.
It's within, it's in the notes and he's reading, so we
Yeah.
actually. So he's asking the question, and I guess that's on group 4, where it says MOD at MR at May River High School.
On page.
Oh, men of distinction,
Men of distinction, yeah, because it's a leader in me.
the leadership program that they have.
Leadership programs?
Mhm.
Yes.
Did you say men of distinction?
Yes, sir, I did, men
Oh.
of distinction.
Okay,
In the attachment.
It's in
It's in the
the
attachment.
attachment to group 2, your,
Student
O3,
advisory budget discussion.
right here. That attachment, and that's what he's asking questions about.
Okay.
that's all. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, let me just say, it seems like we're going to a microwavable, I'll leave that out. If we don't know what those questions, those things were that you just asked. Why didn't do this? I'm worried about it. You move on, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Let's move on to the next item is item OE 10. That is communication with the board.
Great, and for OE 10, in line with the superintendent's accountability, to keep the board informed, the superintendent ensure that daily updates are provided when necessary, covering significant media engagements, incidents on school premises for transport, as well as student or staff arrests related to school incidents. Timely alerts are communicated regarding any actual or anticipated non-compliance with board operational expectations or hindrances toward achieving results policy. The board is promptly informed about administrative actions needing approval, any significant altercations to instructional programs, attendance boundaries, and district-wide initiatives impacting students, educators, employees, parents, or community partners. This includes disclosures regarding employee arrests or suspensions, as well as considerations for administrative positions involving immediate family members of district leadership or contractors. And of course, proposed revisions to administrative regulations were diligently presented to respective board committees for review and discussion. These updates signify the superintendent's commitment to transparency and ensuring the board is well informed about crucial matters concerning the district's operation and organizational well-being.
Can you read off something that we have in the packet?
It's a
Yes.
summary.
It's a
The
summary.
summary in the back of the
Oh,
in the
yeah.
back of it. The executive summary.
Okay, yeah.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and attachments are samples of news updates to board members. It's a copy of an email that Candace sent out to the Board of Education. And another one is an update. And there any questions, Mr. Day?
Negative, I have no questions.
Mr. Smith, do you have any questions?
No, questions.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Campbell,
No, I don't.
Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions?
Why?
Let's see if Mr. Dallas.
Guy. I don't have any questions.
Oh.
Yes, I can hear it.
Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions? Nothing heard. Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions about this? Okay. And did you have a follow-up?
Mrs. Brewer, in the course of when she sends out the information, what's the process of that? What does that look like?
You mean when you guys get updates?
Yes, ma'am. What's the process?
So typically, like, let's just say there's a modified lockdown at a school. school will contact us. And then if a parent communication is going to be drafted, I will work on the parent communication, which we get similar incidences, right? So we have like a template. It takes literally a few minutes to do that. And before I send out the parent communication, I will notify you guys of the situation first. So before any parent communication goes out about anything on the district level or school level, that of something of significance, then you all will be informed on that. And same with the media. So if I get if I answer media questions for something, I will typically, especially if it's a sensitive issue, just let you guys know that interview took place prior to.
Yeah, at some point in time, I guess you do involve the superintendent on that in terms of sending out the information.
Oh gosh, yes, frequently, frequently. If it's something routine, I feel comfortable in just sending it out, but if it's something sensitive, my goodness, yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to recommend approval to the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval and forward to the consent agenda at the next board meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, going on to your next OE, and that's OE 11, communicating with the public.
Great. I'm pleased to present key accomplishments aligned with our operational effectiveness goals here in terms of building dialogue and transparency. The utilization of BCSD Connected provided an opportunity for active community involvement, as I mentioned, with fiscal year 2023-24 budget preparation. And this year we have some other things planned that we're kind of excited about with that. Direct interaction through in-person meetings with various stakeholders and strategic feedback collection via focus groups and surveys underscore our commitment to receiving input and decision-making. Effective communication channels, including social media, news releases, and website updates, enabled rapid and extensive outreach to parents in the community. Notable engagement statistics on social media platforms like Facebook, significant video views, and robust emergency communications reflect our dedication to timely and comprehensive information dissemination. Active involvement in media interviews, speaking engagements, and relationships with community and civic groups exemplifies our commitment to transparent interactions. As for consistent transparency updates, Dr. Rodriguez and district staff presented extensively on student progress, academic recovery initiatives, and fiscal matters to community groups and at board meetings. The annual report is consistently supplemented by ongoing distribution of news releases, along with frequent media interviews, social media posts, videos, and a comprehensive fiscal section on our website, enhancing transparency regarding revenues, expenditures, and the district's financial standing. These efforts highlight our commitment to open dialogues, transparent communication, and community involvement in decision-making processes, ensuring the board and the public are well informed. Happy to take any questions.
Could you outline what is in the attachments?
Sure. In the attachments for this one, we have a little snapshot of our BCSD Connected to the interactive online platform. We have a robocall script from Dr. Rodriguez as an example of communicating with families and staff. He also sends these out in Spanish as well. Then we have some of our communication campaigns, if you will, where we have the Silicon Garden, which Mr. Dallas was involved with, the African American History Education Conference, Community Engagement Initiative, creating healthy communities with our ecumenical partnerships. And we have a lot of recruitment things with that also, with the LEAP program. We appreciate our teachers, first-year teacher starting salary graphics to try to convey, this in a very simple format for people to understand. And then our referendum information. There's some screenshots of the website, and our recent CTE event video is on there. This is a screenshot of our YouTube platform and our what's new section of the website, some of our social media. We have transparency reports on the website, There's an example of a press release on here, which we always make sure to send that out to staff before we send it out to the media, so they're informed first. There's also media samples. Dr. Rodriguez is very good about doing media interviews. It's very rare that we turn down a media interview. There's cover of the community report. And then there's various media releases about report card things, and then there's the student advisory again. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Smith, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I do have some concerns in terms of the communication. I think that well, actually, let me stop by saying thank you for that. But the way we, well, as I would say, it's been conveyed to me, the way we put the emphasis on the referendum was a little different than sometimes in how we're getting messages across when we're doing different things in the districts. And then the parents are concerned that they think that some information could be getting to them in different manner forms, and that some of the information is not getting out to the communities as what is actually going on in the district. And I do know that you do work hard in terms of getting some of these stuff right out in terms of what you have in the packet. But I just think that just to address the relevant, I think in terms of getting information to the diverse community and some of the older people in the community, I think we may have to take a different look and look through a different lens on how we do that.
Well, and I'll say that I agree with you in that that's one of our goals for this year.
Okay.
Like, we definitely want to reach people that don't have students in the system.
Right.
And in terms of engagement, and we have some ideas that we're working on, that's definitely going to be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, I echo your statement. We do a great job in pulling people in our webpage and information, but pushing out information is different. It takes some salesman type to go out to these all the different community groups, to the parents, to the people that it's more of a push information out. So I'm hearing you, and we're going to talk about that in budget priorities.
Well, and I will tell you too, that's been one of the good things about all the referendum presentations, that now we have all these contacts from these groups that we presented to, right? And so as part of when we were speaking to them, now I have those contacts, and we can send them links to Ron's videos, we can send them news releases that they can put in their community newsletters. So that actually opened the door for a lot of new contacts for us. So I think we'll be able to push things out in a new way that way too.
Mr. Day, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, yes, sir. And thank both you and Dr. Bruder and Mr. Smith for discussing the point that was just reared. The work that the communications team, group, department, the administration has done in my 10 months has been phenomenal. A lot of work, a tremendous amount of work. And one of the things that might be worthwhile as you migrate to the AR level of actually considering doing some new statistically valid numerical surveys of your targeted group, because I think this will form a baseline. And as these programs that you have in place and are proposing come to fruition, that number in terms of awareness will, I think, just go up continuously. And I think that'll be a very good message to tell, so that people like Mr. Smith and myself and others can show how the programs are actually being very effective. So you're putting in the work, you've created the content, the methodologies, and now that end user survey, I think will enable all of us to say, hey, look what the improvements have been. So that is not for the OE, sir, and the rest of the team, just for consideration going forward, ma'am, and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion to recommend to the full board for movement of the operational expectation number 11, communication with the public to the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Bruner. Appreciate you coming and good luck tonight with the final. All right, now we're going back to the agenda. And the first piece on the agenda is OE2, Superintendent Succession Planning. That sounds like Ms. Wall.
I think that is me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the superintendent's OE.
Can you hear Ms. Walton?
I can.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, go ahead, please.
The board has required under its expectations that the superintendent has in place someone to serve as superintendent in case of attack. So what you have in front of you is the succession plan in an org chart to list who would be responsible if the superintendent is away, as well as his executive staff and who would be responsible for them if one of them would be out of place. We have to answer any question.
You want to put the wiring diagram up?
Yeah.
Spin it. So let me just look at from what the chart says. Obviously, the first person that will be called upon if Dr. Rodriguez is gone or is unable to respond to an issue would be Dr. Lee.
That's correct.
If Dr. Lee is also not available, then it goes to Alice Walton.
That's correct.
That's correct. And is there anything other past that?
Yes, we go to Tanya after. being
So I see it goes this way.
directly across,
It goes from left to right.
left to right.
Okay, so then next is Tanya Crosby, next is Dr. Stratus, next is Robert Otting, next is Dr. Bruder, next is Wendy, and last is Mark.
Yes, that's true.
That correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Smith, do you have any questions about that?
Yes, I do. In terms of what does security fall up under?
Security,
Yes, ma'am.
this is not, if you're looking for the org chart for the district, this is not the org chart. This is only who will step up if the superintendent is.
Okay, okay. That's pretty clear, so good, so that's good.
Okay, Mr. Nate, do you have any questions?
No questions. Oh, well, I mean, the only I guess reservation I have is if Ms. Cartledge is not available, outside legal counsel seems rather ambiguous.
Well, we have a list, and you probably haven't seen it, but we have a list of attorneys that we call on for specific needs that we do habitually, and we vetted those some time ago. It's been a couple of years, hasn't it? A couple of years since we vetted them, but we do have a list of approved attorneys for outside counsel, depending on what the issue is.
And I would just,
Yes, and
whenever I'm out of the office, I make sure that I contact one of the outside attorneys to cover in case there's an emergency.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my consideration right there. If she is not able to do her job, where somebody outside of the district is supposed to come in and fill your seat, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. And for example, a week ago, I had to take a day of family medical leave for my mother. So I had an outside attorney covering, and I reviewed the pending matter. So he covered the hearing for me.
Awesome. All questions
Yes, sir.
answered. Thank you.
And then also, I do believe that Just to add to that, I do believe that we currently do even use council for other things in term of issues, even when council's here. So I believe that the procedures there. So yeah, I do believe that the procedures are already there for that. FYI.
Okay. Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions or comments?
I'm sorry, I was looking for the
Second.
It's on the back of OE 2.
Yeah. Getting back to the question about Miss Wendy, and you said you're using outside, but you mean that attorneys that we already employ, right?
They have engagement
Yeah.
letter. They have engagement letters with our district to serve as outside counsel. So if I have to be out this morning and I have a pending matter or matters, and I review them with one of the outside attorneys and brief them on the case so that they can represent the district when I'm there. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Gordon?
Well,
No, I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Campbell, do you have anything? Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions or comments?
Excellent planning. No, this is superb. Most organizations know this, so everybody can mentally and emotionally be prepared should that need arise. So thank you very much for this.
Actually, just to make a correction, the list we do have I believe that's the board certified list, but actually I believe that Mrs. Cartledge is an employee of the district along with the working directly for the superintendent. So I believe that their process is I think I want to say it's a little different because of the fact that they normally contact whoever they see needs, or maybe they may have a list. I don't know what that procedure is, but they tend to contact their own counsel because they don't have they don't have the list that we have. We have a list that we prefer to deal with, or a list that we've made out for us to deal with. So actually, that's kind of crazy. How do the district? What is that procedure like?
Well, the board has their list of attorneys.
Right.
That's approved by the board.
Right.
That the board only uses.
Right.
For us as senior staff, we have specialty attorneys.
Right.
Because we might need to call someone in for, say, employment law.
Right.
So we have letters of agreements or letters of service with other attorneys.
Right.
That we call on an ad need
Basis.
Yes.
So okay, so that's the process. Basically, I have MOAs with different firms, and I use them as needed.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, I don't see a motion for this one on here. So do I have a motion to recommend approval of OE2 to the full board for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded by Mr. Nate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Walton.
Yes.
The next item is personnel administration, OE4.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as you know, this is a pretty extensive OE. We have 15 subsections.
Yep.
So what we've done to try to make it a little bit more palatable and easy to go down, Mr. Smith, is broken it up into sections. So we've broken it into 5 different sections: governance, recruitment, employment, and evaluation, and then climate and compensation. So if you look at the executive summary, all 15 of subsections are included in the executive summary. And our presentation today will use as a guide a PowerPoint that will walk you through all 15 of the subsections in different groups. And we're going to do that in order of the experts that are responsible for those specific areas, so that it is easily comprehensible.
The first one will be governance.
Yes, am I waiting on you, Robert? Okay. So while we're waiting on Robert, I will say that we have we have two major components added to the HR responsibility this year, and that's safety as well as athletics. So that will be different this year. We'll have that as a discussion where we haven't had that before. So that's the difference. But we promise to get through this as quickly as possible and get you out of here in time. So I'm gonna open it up to the experts. I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves, tell you what their responsibilities are as they come up to present their specialty, and then we'll go through.
Well, you used to bring about 5 people. I almost got plenty more HR. Now you bring the whole HR. You know, y'all just a whole gang out here.
But you know what, Mr. Smith, we actually short. We need to have a meeting.
Oh, I need to say that. Well, just enough people. It's support, Mr. Smith. What I mean. You're right, yes, sir.
Well, good evening, members of the Operations Committee, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for hosting us this evening. I'm Matthew Hunt. I'm the Director of Human Resource Operations. I oversee a lot of the operations having to do with staffing, data collection, classified staff, as well as some administrative hiring, all the vacancy postings, and all of the various jobs that go with that. So slide number 2, everything that we do in HR under governance for personnel and also for volunteers falls within the administrative regulations. We make sure that those are posted in a place that everybody can find them, as well as putting them in the employee handbook. And so the employee handbook is where anybody who is an employee of the district can go, and we pulled out certain administrative regulations, ones that probably are a little more hefty that it's important that they know, and those are pulled into the employee handbook as well as other policies and procedures to help them during their employment time with us. The next slide we talk about the operational expectation requires us to be able to address grievances and complaints and concerns, and so effective management of that begins with having transparent processes in place. So we have those in the administrative regulations, but we also have our forms on the intranet, and there's also an icon or an app in ClassLink. So anybody at the school level that has ClassLink can simply go click on the icon, and that'll take them to the harassment and complaint form that is housed in iSight. Once a harassment or a complaint form is submitted, that comes down to our office, and then we distribute that to the appropriate administrative level. Per HRS 15, we want to make sure that we solve all complaints, harassments, forms, and grievances at the lowest administrative level possible. And in order to make that process transparent to the board, last year on December 14th, we met with the Operations Committee, and we presented a presentation called Events, Complaints, and Grievances, so that it kind of identified and defined which each one of those levels, what was involved with those. And then thank you, Robin. On slide number 4 here, we want to make sure Title IX is a giant part of making sure that we are in compliance. And so to do that, we have a partnership with Institutional Compliance Solutions. It's a company out of Tennessee. They're school law experts in Title IX. And to date, we've trained 37 fully trained Title IX investigators in the district. We also have a confidentiality agreement that's part of the operational expectation, and anybody that has access to sensitive information must sign, read and agree to this confidentiality statement. 481 of those have been signed this year, and that's the appropriate number that we're supposed to have for that. Likewise, for all staff members, anybody that works in a capacity that's in our personnel system has to go through Safe Schools training. Safe Schools training is several modules that are about our policies and procedures. All employees have to complete that, including FERPA, which Mr. Ney, that's the Federal Educational Records Protection Act. Also Title IX is addressed there. And then we also address what are called responsible employees, and those are mandated reporters.
Could you talk and see what Title IX covers?
Yeah, Title IX covers any type of complaints having to do with, Kiki, help me out if I'm wrong, but gender discrimination, anything having to do, it could be something having to do with pregnancy, different.
Pregnancy discrimination,
Yep.
any type of harassment, whether it is sexual harassment, it also deals with non-sexual harassment type of investigation.
I'm gonna turn it over now to Mr. Dees.
Okay, good evening. My name is Reggie Dees. I'm the Director of Personnel.
Well, wait, let's make sure we have a chance to ask questions.
Yeah,
to
sure.
Mr. Hunt.
Yeah, there's a
Does
lot.
anybody have a question, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I'm gonna, actually, I'm gonna, and then this came up because I think it was in our technology meeting. I believe, Mrs. Wall, can you refresh my memory just so I can, have this, I believe I stated that for the grievance process, we asked you as the operations committee to get a program that was geared towards you guys for your department that would help us out with grievances. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then we were asking because we were going across, we were in a committee meeting at the of technology, and that question came up. And so I just want to make sure I was giving that. I think that was something along the lines of the information that I gave to them, and I just wanted, about being that we were honest, I just want to refresh my memory, so they're clear on the understanding. So this program was a program that y'all understanding that y'all with that district purchasing. This is what we asked you guys to bring in. You bought that program, and now this is the program that we're using at this point. That this juncture, correct?
That's correct. You asked us for a way to keep up with grievances so that we could control better the flow of grievances at the school level.
Right.
So that we would have control of that at the district level. And to make it more confidential, so employees would be safe and comfortable doing that. And this program answers that.
And Mr. Smith, if I can add to that as well. This company, Eyesight, based out of Canada, but they are also, they keep current with Title IX law. So to make sure that any new mechanisms that are required in reporting, that gets updated as well. As you know, we have new Title IX regulations. They're not active yet, but they're in the works. And so they're ready to keep pace with that. The other thing this does is it's a clearinghouse for us where we can house all the documentation, and it's completely paperless.
Mr. Nate, do you have any questions for Mr. Hunt?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions for Mr. Hunt?
No, sir, well done.
Okay. And Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions for Mr. Hunt?
Well done. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell? I have no questions.
Thanks, sir. You'll see me again shortly, but
Okay, good.
without further ado, turn to my counterpart here.
Now we'll move to recruitment.
Yes, sir.
Again, good evening. My name is Reggie Dees. I'm the Director of Personnel for Beaufort County. Primarily deal with all personnel issues from A to Z and certification to make sure all of our employees are properly certified. Okay. Currently, looking at recruitment, we have several competitive advantages that we're going to talk about as we progress through this slideshow. Comprehensive induction and support, no cost after school childcare, professional development and educational support for teachers, compensation, location, weather and lifestyle, total rewards packages, benefits, retirement and support, and no cost virtual mental health counseling. If you look to the, I'm still on that first slide. If you look to the left of the slide, we contract with a company called Adams Billboards strategically to place billboards in key areas around Beaufort County to generate interest and maximize exposure to help fulfill our teaching basis. The goal is to reach a diverse audience and attract qualified educators passionate about making a positive impact in our community. We also contract with a company called DCB Radio, which we use targeted display tile ads, social media, email marketing, targeted email, geofencing. And in that process, as you can see, we've reached 3+ million. We had 3+ million billboard impressions, 1,449,683 geofencing impressions, and over 7,000 clicks on the website. And we did that within a span of 3 months, strategically. We also, in this effort, included the bus drivers. We also did a billboard display for bus drivers and instructional services. We also had 2 spots on WTOC streaming commercials for the month of July and August. And this was all done in an effort to attract teachers to this area. Any questions on that slide, sir?
So it's previous slide. Just go back. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering, y'all give out board members stipends for recruiting?
And as we done on additional class pay time sheet, I haven't seen it yet.
Could you go through in piece, and then we'll ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, why don't we do it then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead with your next slide. So, there we go.
And at this point, I'll turn it over to our recruiting team.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Monique Brown. I am one of the recruiters, and I will begin with talking about the slide on the left, employment opportunities. This is the website where candidates would go when they are going to the district's website and looking for a position. And so it takes me to the point of talking about the overall recruitment process and what it looks like in a day of operation in the recruitment department. So through ongoing messaging, the recruitment team works with active and passive candidates on a daily basis. And sometimes that's weekly, sometimes that's monthly. It just depends on where the candidates are. Those active candidates are those who have plans to move to Beaufort County. They know that they are determined to move to our area. So we work with them because they have interest in moving sooner rather than later. So those candidates are vetted, and we make their applications viewable to our principals and their hiring managers. They have an idea of where they want to live. And so those candidates are also very familiar with what they want to teach. These candidates are typically ones who already have experience. On the other hand, the passive candidates are those college students or teachers who are within their first 5 years of teaching, who are entertaining the idea of relocation. So we spend a lot of time with those candidates, and this could be through ongoing messaging to include email, phone calls, Zoom meetings, lots of text messaging. That's just the day and age in which we're living in, and they love to text with us, so that's fine. And so we pushed out a lot of resources to these candidates. We've developed something called the New Hire Top 10. This is a way that we give them resources and things that they can have at their fingertips where they can learn more about our area and what our county and our district has to offer. The salary and the stipend schedule is also something that we push out to them along with the candidates resource guide. And then obviously the employment opportunities that we have available. And we also direct them to the State Department's website so that they can take a look at the South Carolina certification process for reciprocity for their educator's license. So that's basically what that looks like for our candidates as far as the start of employment with us.
So I'll move on to the next piece. Just kind of give you.
Did you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm Woody Melton, and I'm one of the recruiters. Also, we are officially called Talent Acquisition Specialists. That's a mouthful, so we keep it simple and say recruiters. So to kind of summarize what Dr. Brown just mentioned, our typical recruitment flow chart, we're getting candidates through handshake. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But also we're going out and doing recruiting fairs also. So once we have candidates, we turn that into electronic conversations, phone conversations, and then we will frequently also do some Zoom conversations also. And then from there, we're going and doing county and district visits to within our own county. About a month ago, we had an opportunity to speak to the teacher cadet program. And our plan is to continue doing our best to cultivate our own teachers from within our own county. Once candidates are in Amtrak, we vet them very, very heavily, make sure we are getting what we need from a candidate. And then we also have our job fair twice a year. So we had a fall virtual job fair about a month ago, and then we will have another job fair in the springtime in February. And once we have candidates that are basically ready to go, that's when we push them to principals. Principals will then interview. If they have a good interview, principals decide they want to pick them up. That's when we come back in as a recruitment team. And once the principal has submitted a recommendation to hire, everything kind of gets vetted even more thoroughly by our director of personnel, Mr. Reggie Dees. And then once we have that official opportunity to call and offer the candidate an official job offer, that's where they accept, deny. Sometimes it's not an easy process as people relocating from very, very far away. This past summer, we've recruited and hired people all the way from the state of Washington, California, you name it. From there, we turn over the hired documents to another member of our HR department, and that's when candidates are sent their hiring HR documents. And it's an extensive process and a lot of paperwork to fill out. The candidates can get that finished in a couple of hours or longer than that, depending on how motivated these candidates are. And typically they're very, very motivated and they finish them as soon as possible. That way they can begin their job. After these documents are finished, that's when they have their new hire orientation. We typically do this new hire orientation virtually through Zoom over the summer. And once we are back in session, that's where we basically have a pre-recorded new hire orientation for all of our candidates that are starting after the school year begins. And then after that, they also have their technology orientation, which is something our technology department handles, and we just kind of fund it through them. So as you've heard, our comprehensive recruiting plan is year-long, all year. Basically, in October and November, that's when we're going out to recruiting fairs in person, and we also attend virtual job fairs during those months. And then in the springtime, it picks back up in January, really throughout February and a little bit of March, also when we are boots on the ground, going and recruiting teachers from colleges and also attending these virtual job fairs as well. I know we mentioned a little bit about Handshake. What is Handshake? This is an online platform that has existed since 2014. This is year 3 of our partnership with Handshake. So this is year 3 of our partnership with Handshake. 2 years ago, we were one of the first piloted partnerships with Handshake when they first introduced their new feature that we use extensively with offering the opportunity for Handshake to be used for education. Prior to 2 years ago, Handshake was for just about every other industry. And now we were one of the first, and we were the first in South Carolina to take advantage of this opportunity with Handshake. What are we able to do in Handshake? So each recruiter has the ability to send 1,000 messages or one message to 1,000 candidates that are currently sitting in college right now. We have access to every college and university in the country who utilizes Handshake, and for the most part, just about every college is using it. If not, they're probably going to be using it very, very soon. This past, about a month ago for our job fair, when we sent out campaigns. So these campaigns are essentially like virtual billboards where we are able to send up to 5,000 candidates our job postings. How many jobs are secured from Handshake? So the talent acquisition team, we ran 7 campaigns and sourced 82 candidates to target our critical need areas, including math, science, special education. As a result, 55 candidates were hired through Handshake for the 23-24 school year. Next thing we'll hit on is recruiting fairs. So this past fall in October, we attended the Francis Marion Job Fair, and we also attended 2 virtual job fairs, West Virginia University and Kutztown University. As of right now, we have not finalized our spring plans, but we have a lot of things that we are putting in the works. We're pulling numbers to make sure we are taking a very antiquated approach to go to the colleges that have very, very high numbers of education majors that will graduate between now and the end of June. So what's currently on the table in January, we were looking at attending Winthrop and Kennesaw State. In February, we were looking at UGA, Ole Miss, University of Virginia, College of Charleston. And that one is actually combined between College of Charleston, Charleston Southern, and the Citadel. as well as the upstate with Converse. We're looking at UNC Wilmington, Appalachian State. That is typically one of our biggest fairs. They have nearly 300 candidates that will graduate by the end of June. And then also more to come. These are job fairs that have not been posted yet, so we don't know exactly when they are happening, but we know Georgia Southern this year has over 200 graduates that will be ready to be hired between now and the end of June. We are also looking at University of Alabama and Auburn. We're also looking at USC, Anderson, upstate has a good number of candidates also, as well as Coastal Carolina and Myrtle Beach. We're also going to attend the Palmetto State School Council Association to increase our retention of school counselors, because all of our school counselors typically are there at that in-person conference. But also that is very, very free recruiting for us to be there. And we're also going to attend our South Carolina Association for Middle Level Education, SCAMLE, as well as SCISHA. SCISHA stands for South Carolina Speech Language Hearing Association. And we know right now there's a deficit for deaf, hard of hearing teachers, and it's our job to be at that conference to fix that issue. One thing that we have as a goal for ourselves this school year is having a stronger recruitment of minority teacher candidates. So we're currently doing our best job to pull numbers and looking at all of our HBCUs in America to pinpoint which HBCUs have the highest number of graduates between now and the end of June. And those in-person job fairs at these HBCUs, we will make sure we will attend the ones that align with those numbers. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Brown for student teaching.
Okay, and Robin, if you'll stay on that slide, the one you're on. So as far as student teaching goes, to build our own talent pipeline, we are excited to say that we have posted 65 student interns. And these are students who were either completing practicums, student teaching, or internships. And that's this semester in our schools right now. If you look at the chart, you can see that most of our students in our schools this semester were represented from USCB, with 48 being the total number of students who we had to student teach in our schools. These students, well, we expect that we will have at least half of that number of students to also student teach for the spring semester. We're currently in the process of placing them right now. We've also had students from Liberty, Grand Canyon, Carolina, Clemson, as you can see, certification areas represented. We've had school level administration, some of those students studying to become school level principals, but we've also had those students who are focusing on high school level ELA, history, math, science and social studies. Early childhood has had the largest number of student teachers with a whopping 42, I believe that is.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we've also had those students who are studying school counseling, speech pathology, as well as those students who study SPED, and then a few students who study some of those human services related fields such as social work and public health. So we're excited about that number. And one thing that we've done differently in our department that we had not done in the past is we have decided to split the responsibility of student placement among all 3 recruiters. In the past, the responsibility has been placed on one recruiter to place all of the students, but with us splitting the responsibility and having a shared responsibility among all 3 recruiters, what we found is it allows us an opportunity to develop relationships with the students and be more personal with them. I'll give you an example. Mr. Melton and I got an opportunity to visit USCB. We were invited by the professor to come and talk to the student teachers this semester. So she gave way to some of their class time for us to come and talk to the students and talk to them about the district. It was question and answer session. They asked us a lot of questions that they probably would be afraid to ask us if we weren't standing right in front of them about the protocols and processes of the district. We gave them some interview tips and some strategies and things like that that they can use to prepare for our virtual job fair that we just had. 4 of those students, which only 4 registered for the job fair, but all 4 of those students were recommended for hire by our principals. So we are just awaiting them to graduate, and they're going to come and teach with us in January. So building that partnership and sustaining those relationships with USCB and all of our universities and colleges that we're working with has been very important to us. And with all 3 recruiters involved and being hands-on has really helped with that process. Because like I said, we're able to pick up the phone and call these field placement coordinators and have those conversations and be available to these students. So it's really helping us to build our pipeline for our teachers and to help with our recruiting efforts. So again, like I said, we're excited that those teachers will come and join Beaufort County in January.
So our last talking point, as far as the recruitment piece, we're gonna go over our LEAP program, the Low Country Educator Alternative Pathway. And this is Beaufort County's own alternative route to certification. A lot of what we've kind of set up to this point should be trying to convey that there is a deficit, not just in South Carolina, but really nationwide and worldwide, that the demand is way more higher than the supply of teachers that are coming out of college education institutions. So we have to be the people that cultivate our own teachers. That's why we have boots on the ground going to job fairs. That's why we have boots on the ground and speaking with teacher cadets and understanding that the relationship with our student teachers is so important. Because if they have the opportunity to student teach with us, why would they not want to teach with us? So we're doing our best to make sure that that percentage of retention is getting higher and higher each year. So with LEAP, it is extremely, extremely important that we are cultivating our own teachers, but we have to be the people that are working religiously hard in order to fill the vacancies that we have. So over the last year, our highest number of vacancies outside of SPED has been math and science. We wanted to, of course, include SPED with our LEAP program, but the state says special education is so much to chew off, you definitely don't want to do that in your first year. So we currently are working with math and science, and we just recently got the approval that we're also adding social studies as a content area that we can get candidates to classrooms for middle and high school, for secondary, math, science, and social studies. So we have leaned on expert guidance from Greenville's GATE coordinator, Dr. Candace Moore. She's working with us as a consultant. GATE is currently in their 8th year, and they have over 80 teachers in this cohort for year 8. If you do the math, they probably have produced over 300, 400 teachers in their 8 years, and they have way more certification areas than we have right now. Next year is year 9 for them, and they're going to be adding visual art, and I think another type of art also. Their first year is when the first year they only had 10 candidates, and that's exactly where we are right now. We have 10 candidates. We may be able to get a few more candidates over the next month or so before we're able to put these teachers in classrooms. So if you build it, they will come. We meet virtually and in person as needed for guidance with Dr. Moore, and our process has been getting more and more seamless. So right now we have 10 candidates, 6 science candidates, and 4 math candidates. Currently, we have 4 current middle and high school science vacancies, and right now currently we have 2 middle and high school math vacancies. And working with these candidates, we have expedited our process, and within the next month and a half, we should have these candidates ready to go. And we're gonna have our first virtual session with these candidates next week. That will be December 5th from 5 to 6 p.m. virtually. And then we are also gonna bring these candidates in person within the next month and a half in January, so that once they are able to take their practice exams in January, that's the only thing left that they need to do before we can get them in classrooms. The waiting on the timetable for them to take their practice exam before they get their official score is a challenge. It's a waiting game. So we want to have everything as smooth and transition as possible so that once they take their practice, they're ready to go. I'll turn over the rest of the leave to Dr. Brown.
I think that's it. We do have a flyer. We just want to pass one on this out if you'll share on that.
So with our first virtual information session for LEAP being next week, we are going to have a virtual LEAP information session the first Tuesday of each month for the rest of the school year up until June.
You might like a copy of this.
No, you can.
You've got a couple more slides on recruitment.
That's it for recruiting.
We got slide 11 and 12. I think you also have international 10, 11.
Yes, sir. So we currently have a partnership with 3 agencies to help fill vacant classrooms. Participate Learning, we've had a partnership with them for years. Currently, there are 19 teachers that we've hired from Participate Learning. And this is where we fill our Chinese, Spanish, and ESOL positions. Teacher Placement Group, which is TPG, they help us cover all content areas, but excluding Chinese. And we also have a partnership with a virtual platform, Proximity Learning. And we use them semester long to help fill hard to fill vacancies. And currently we have about 2 teachers right now through Proximity Learning. Next slide. We also hire teachers, and LEAP is one of our alternative certification processes. At the State Department, there are several. As you can see, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 alternative areas, alternative platforms where teachers can receive certification through an alternative process. Basically, it's the same as LEAP. They apply through the state. All they need is a bachelor's degree. The state analyzes their credentials and determine the certification area. And once they receive that letter of eligibility for that area, we hire. And it's a 3-year process where they can receive their professional license. Currently, we have 86 teachers right now that are going through one of the alternative programs. And including the 10 that we plan to bring on board, we'll have 96. That's the plan. Next slide.
January 19th, you're gonna bring in 96 teachers?
No, we have 86 currently through the alternative process. And with LEAP, if we can get those teachers hired, we hope to have them in January. New hires. As you can see, we've hired 231 new hires for the 23-24 school year. 50 teachers that are hired from grades 9 through 12. It represents 22% of the hires. 104 teachers hired from pre-K to 5, totaling 45%, representing 45%, and 66 teachers hired from grades 6 through 8, totaling 28, representing 28%. And 11 of those teachers are for special areas. As you can see, media, counseling, psychologists, and speech, and CDF. We also hire rehires that are retirees that are interested in coming back and serving our students. We currently have rehired 35 retirees, to include 12 at the middle school level, 14 at the elementary school level, 7 at the high school level, and 2 in student services.
That's recruitment.
Yes, sir.
So let's see if we have any questions on the area of recruitment. Mr. Smith?
Let somebody else start it off.
Okay, Mr. Day.
No questions. Thank you. Very thorough.
No question, very thorough. Okay, Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions?
To this team, this is how you do it. You inundate us with so much information. You anticipated, Mr. Will, that it's something to be, but I was just watching the choir over here, they were there, fanning and everything. But none of you sweat, this was good, thank you, very good.
They were fanning them.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions or comments?
I would like to piggyback on what, but I do have a question. What's behind these teachers? Because I find that we have teachers that were born here in Beaufort County and don't know the history or the culture. Do y'all encourage them to get involved in that?
That is really through instructional skills. So once we get them hired, once, depending on the school that they're set up, saying how that is their responsibility to inform the history of that. But we have in the past, if I'm not mistaken, taken a busload of teachers.
Yes.
Penn Center.
Penn Center, yes, sir. Good teacher.
They also have the African American Conference now, which is a 3-day event that's held during the PD week in February, which allows new teachers and also current teachers an opportunity to hear from vendors at the University of South Carolina, which is where the conference is annually held, in addition to attend local churches to see what the historical spiritual point of view is from the Low Country. So that will have a third African American conference that's coming up starting February 15, 24 to the 3-day event.
There's a component, Mr. Campbell, that the mentors, anybody that's a district mentor, they have when they're training mentors to make sure that mentors are aware to how to teach the new teachers, brand new to the field, new to Beaufort County, where different things are, where historical locations are, and about the county itself. So, and it's a very diverse, as you know, but we do try to make that part of our virtual online orientation for all employees as well, and we do that in the springtime.
Okay. Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions?
I just would like to say, I think we saw a presentation earlier this year that showed the improvement in retention between the prior year and what's happening now. And so I think that's proof in the pudding that these methods and efforts and initiatives are really making a difference. So thanks.
Okay. Mr. Smith, I've got to make a quick run out.
Okay.
Could you take the chair and ask me your question? Thank you.
Actually, I would just say I agree with everyone else has said. I do ditto, and I do appreciate this plethora of information. But however, I do have a couple of concern in terms of maybe we can help me the process. In terms of recruiting, I see some of these universities that y'all have, like University of Second Carolina. But University of Second Choice, Clemson, and these other universities. But I heard that y'all did say, and I appreciate that it's in the future plans, but I don't see any HBCUs. How are we looking to facilitate that and bring that in there? What does that look like? If I may ask you, Bruce.
So the numbers that you're looking at, those are the numbers of our student teachers. What we're planning to do going forward is we're going to recruit, not for student teachers, but recruit for candidates to hire as certified teachers going to HBCUs and doing that in spring.
Okay.
So those, what you see there is just what we get from student teachers that want to become a student teacher.
Okay.
And most of those are going to be in state, and as you see, the number of USCB is because they're right here in our bank.
And Mr. Smith, we do recruit at HBCUs only if they have educational programs. If they don't have an educational program, there's no need to go visit an HBCU because again, there's no teacher program for us to recruit those teachers. There are some that we do reach out to, but it's not many. There's not many teacher programs in HBCUs.
Right. And also why actually because I just I was at a school and the teacher came here, I believe, last year. And they were from HBCU, but I didn't see them on this. So I was just wondering, you know, but so I believe that she was recruited to come here from HBCU from what I got. That's how I was just wondering. Why it's not on?
That list is just a student intern.
Yeah.
So they may have gone to school in an HBCU, but we didn't list that as a new hire. But I do have some statistics for you, Mr. Smith, because I knew you'd be asking. And so last year, among our new hires, we hired, and I'm going to put males almost in the category of minorities because males in education are. So 16% of our new hires last year were males, and then we had 17% that were considered non-white. So that was 17% of all new hires. To give you some comparison, last year in the state, there was a 27% new hire of non-white and 22% of males. And so we're not that far off in terms of what the state and the metrics look like.
Okay. Oh, we'll definitely do.
But I also want to include that in our international programs, TPG, the majority of those teachers that come over are African American.
Yes.
Well, like I said, I saw some of them, but I just seen, you know, the university of second choice up here first and all these other prestigious schools, but you know, I just didn't see anything, you know, in terms of that information on this paper. So that's just was some concern of mine. I just want to make sure that we are keeping them in the fold and that we are continuing to recruit in our HBCUs, because from time to time community members do ask about that, what's that process like and what that looks like. So I definitely appreciate y'all continuing working that. But that was my general question. And Mr. Dees, I'm afraid of you because you ready to say, look at now y'all want to bring people in that. So I got your point. We're gonna bring people in, we ain't doing nothing else.
Okay, I think we can move to employment.
I'm just gonna stand.
Yeah, when you get started, can we pass these bags out? So as part of our recruiter strategy. This is right. Yeah. Well, this is all we got to be right. Mr. Dallas, we have a bag for you. And
Just today.
But you have to send us your credentials. If you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, we need to talk to you.
Thank you all.
Hey, I'm Jennifer Staten. I'm the Director of Risk Management. The bulk of my job is managing the insurance for the district. So that would be the property, the liability, the workers' compensation, athletic, unemployment, those sorts of things. But I also do the volunteers. So, and you know, you can see we've had an uptick in volunteer applications approved. We have close to 3,000 active volunteers at the moment. And then you can see the screening that we have done. And this is through the background check system. So we have brought on a new vendor, Raptor, that we this past year have combined visitor and volunteer management. So we've spent this last year rolling out the visitor management portion of it. And then starting in January, we are going to roll out the volunteer management through Raptor. So this will make it a lot easier for schools. It'll be just one stop that they go to, one management portal. One of the things that you're probably going to hear from your constituents is we're doing away with permanent volunteer badges. And the reason for this is most of the vendors have gotten away from them. No one that bid on our RFP supplied permanent badges anymore. And then the reason for this is we want our folks to scan in when they come into the building. So because it checks the sex offender registry every single time. If they have a no trespass order, if they have any sort of an altercation, if we've had any sort of a notes, when they scan in each time, it will pull that up. It also adds a picture to their badge. It will say volunteer, it will say contractor, it will say visitor. So this is the way in general, this whole system has kind of gone away from having those permanent badges. So they can't be lost. They have to look at them every time they come through. We're catching the expiration dates, that sort of a thing. And that's what I have. Any questions on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So currently we have 2,900 right now that are actually active.
That are approved and active, but then we approved them for 2 years. So in the last, we have currently close to about 3,000 active approved volunteers. Yes.
That's awesome. So just real quick, I'm saying the process, understanding that's that number right then, that's the number that we have.
Yeah.
So even with them getting so we've already went to that system, correct?
We are rolling out we have implemented the visitor portion. We're rolling out the volunteer portion in January when we come back from winter break.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I do remember giving us a heads up, last time, one time
Yes.
they were at the operations committee. So understanding the process is they won't longer get the actual badges,
Correct.
but they will get the printouts. So what would that look like in terms of being able to be a volunteer? They will still go to the website and they will still fill out.
Yes, it should be seamless to the community member. So we will just switch out the link in January. They'll still go to our website. They'll still go under community to volunteer. But when they click on that, I want to volunteer, it will then take them to the new application. So that's how it works. And we're very excited about Rapid because they have a lot more community engagement features that we just have not had before. It allows the like SICs and PTOs to communicate as almost like a social forum here, and the schools can now put all their events on there. And so we'll push it out to the volunteers, telling them this is what's going on. Because in the past, we've had some people apply and then maybe certain schools hadn't reached out to them and they didn't quite know. Well, they can log in and see what the events are. They can sign up for the events. They can sign up for areas that we would like to have volunteers participate in. Areas like tutoring or something at the school, so it'll allow them a lot more ability to update their contact information that we just have not had in the past.
And I was just saying, I'm gonna be done. Thank you, because believe it or not, that's big, because a lot of volunteers, I'm not sure about you, they actually sometimes I had to call a couple people to teach me how to walk me through that, so I can help some of the elderly volunteers who want to volunteer.
Walk you through.
I appreciate that now, so that I know that, so I can tell them.
Well, maybe what we can have you do when we roll it out is have you sign up as a volunteer, because then you'll see the functionality of the system, and then I can just kind of walk you through it.
I appreciate that. Look forward to that.
Mr. Nate, do you have a question or a comment?
The name is left.
Mr. Nate is left. Ms. Gordon?
No, the statement, thank you, as always, the numbers. I didn't realize we had almost 3,000. That is fantastic.
Mr. Dallas is still.
Fantastic.
Mr.
And
Dallas.
to be able to track the data is impressive. Thank you.
Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions or comments? Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions or comments? Do you happen to have pre-COVID numbers of volunteers?
It was pretty close to this pre-COVID. And then it really died down, obviously, for a number of years. But as you can see, it has crept back up. Pre-COVID, we had, I think we looked at a 2-year span, close to 7,000 in a 2 years. So it's pretty close to this at 3,000. So we're not probably quite back up there, but we're getting close.
Okay. All right, moving on, sir, is if the committee's ready.
Yes.
Another part of our employment that we track every time the budgeting cycle comes around, human resources collaborates with finance. This was something that I believe the operations committee found useful last year, and that is the teacher staffing ratio that we use when we're trying to determine how many certified employees to put in the building. And what we've come up with in collaboration with finance is there's a staffing formula that is for non-poverty schools, for high poverty schools, and schools that are considered very high, because we have believed that the lower class sizes in the very high poverty schools will help be able to meet more of the individual needs. So we're just listing this for your own information and edification, but I also wanted to give you in the orange table, that is what the state law says is the maximum amount of student teacher ratio. So you can see in grades kindergarten through 3, you're looking at 30 students to 1 teacher in a self-contained classroom. As you get into the middle school and the high school, you're looking at up to 35, maybe 40 in some cases in middle school, PE and music. And of course, for band and different things, you may have more. But then when you get to the high school level, you're looking at a cap on the number of students per day that a teacher is supposed to see. And then I want to also give you another data point that we look and take into consideration. That's in the yellow table, and that is the average student-teacher ratio for the last 5 years, and that is taken from all of the South Carolina State report card data. And so you can see we're very close to in line with the average and with the median. Something that does skew that data just a little bit is alternative high schools and alternative programs oftentimes have as low as 1-to-1, one teacher to one student ratio, and all of those are figured into the data set. So that's why those numbers may appear a little bit lower, but we're always within that range. And that is a part of our employment as we look at the data collection, monitoring, and the candidate selection and placement. So slide 15 is just an example, and I think it was either Mr. Ney or Mr. Dallas that mentioned about our employee retention rate. Last year, we saw a jump to just over 86%, and that includes all employees of the district. And then in our hard to staff areas, we saw a jump to 82.75%. I think something that's kind of interesting there is that we didn't lose any foreign language teachers last year. So we had 100% retention in that category. And then the other categories kind of fell within the 80 percentile to mid 80s in terms of our retention for math, science, special education. And we continue to track that data in a myriad of ways, but we wanted to present that so that you could have a chance to see that. Another part of employment, of our employment OE is our file management. And in a moment, I'm going to bring up Mr. Crawford, but right now, in terms of personnel documents, we've been going through, we used to have everything in a file room. So if you ever have been to a doctor's office and you see those giant slides where the files go, and we had a whole room full of those. To date, we've destroyed over 1,800 inactive files. We also have cleared 542 cubic feet of space. And I want to give you an example of what that is. One pallet is 31.1 cubic feet. So if you have a pallet that goes into a box, one pallet is 31.1 cubic feet, and we've cleared out of that room so far over 17 pallets of employee files that have been uploaded now into Frontline as we move to a paperless management system. I think that's pretty impressive. And I think last but not least on that slide, if I'm not mistaken, is our migration to HRMS. HRMS is a human resource management system. And to present a little bit more about that, I'll bring up Mr. Dale Crawford.
Good evening. I'm Dale Crawford. I'm the Human Resources Officer. My role's kind of changed a little bit over the last couple of months because I'm going to be departing here shortly. So I've transitioned a lot of what I've done in the past to Mr. Hunt, who has done a tremendous job taking over those responsibilities, and also Ashley Crowley, who now has the responsibilities of doing the system. So we've been working together over the last few months to transition and continue to work to keep things going so that it was seamless once I depart. But we've been really busy over the last few months on a human resources management system. And what this is going to do is it's going to take all of Mr. Hunt's spreadsheets that I created for the last 15 or 20 years. When we have a staffing meeting with finance, I go out and I build all the staffing sheets for all the principals. It shows them the number of teachers they're supposed to have, number of administrators, number of classified staff, and so forth. And I'll plug all those people into the spreadsheets, and I also track transfers, resignations, terminations, and all the movement within the school so that they have an updated information on hand. And of course, I think this is what it looked like before. Spreadsheets.
Go on next slide also, Robin.
So what we're going to do with HRMS is going to put this at their fingertips on the computer. It's going to show every single position that we've ever had in the district, who sat in that chair, where the money was funded from, what their salaries are, and those kind of things. So instead of wasting a lot of man hours on the spreadsheets, it's going to be right there at the principal's fingertips. They're also going to be able to submit requests for new positions, reclassification of positions, position changes, and those kind of things as well, in order to keep their staffing information up to date and static, which means it's live. And so anytime there's a change, an addition, deletion, it's going to be immediately identified on their computers in the system, and they'll be able to see that, and they'll be able to communicate better with Mr. Hunt in order to identify what needs to be filled and to get things posted in a timely manner and people hired.
ROP. Verification.
Oh, yeah, and it's also going to help eliminate the manual reconstruction of the ratification of personnel on a monthly basis. It's going to be date driven, so when Mr. Hunt clicks on the board report, it's going to print out the data for that time frame automatically, and he'll be able to present that. So we've done a lot over the last couple of years to automate systems, to get rid of a lot of paper. I figured it's probably going to take us about 5 years to get rid of all the personnel files, not only the actives, but the inactives as well. We've been really diligent in getting that process done. I think we're around the P's.
We're on P through Z.
Yeah, so we've been really doing well as far as getting it all scanned. And some of the files are, you can get a file who's been here, an employee who's been here for a long time, and they may have 300 pieces of documents in their file. So it takes a while to get it scanned, and also not just scanned, but we're validating the documents to make sure that that document belongs to that employee before it's put into the new system.
And then it's also shredded as well. So the lady that we have shredding it, she's asked to be paid by the pound. It's something that we're gonna have to, address.
So we have really made a lot of big strides in our systems over the last few years.
And I brought just a couple of artifacts like Mr. Crawford was showing you. We have our administrative and certified staff vacant positions. This looks familiar because it's where we build the ratification of personnel. We have that as well for classified. Other data that we keep has to do with the number of positions in each building throughout the district. And all of this stuff we've been keeping on paper. Mr. Crawford set up a system where he's kept it on paper for as long as computers have been in part of the district office. And I don't say that to be funny, but say that to be literal. And so that's something that we've continued, and there are a lot of man hours that go into tracking data. The other thing HRMS will do is it will help with the accuracy of the inputting of data to make sure that the numbers always match. Right now, they could change, and sometimes I give you the ratification and we could have had 2 resignations or 2 new hires in the time that I've given you that report.
You have any questions?
No, sir.
Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions?
I do. Wait for it. I was looking at your numbers for the ratio to teachers for self-contained.
Yes.
Is that for the state, the 30, what is it, 30?
30 to 1.
30 to 1.
30 to 1 is the state cap, and that would be just a general kindergarten class. That would be a case of a K through 3 class where they don't change for math, science, English, or whatever.
Okay. And they have a paraprofessional in their classroom?
So with all kindergarten and pre-kindergarten, yes, ma'am, they would have a paraprofessional.
I thought that was.
Yeah, that's required.
That was kind of high.
Yes, ma'am.
30.1.
It is.
For those kids.
Correct.
For those kids. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions? Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions?
All good here, Colonel. Thank you.
I have a question. Talk to me about cybersecurity. And you've got to have a lot of information that if it get hacked, you're in big trouble. So what are your cybersecurity processes to prevent that from happening?
I think part of that has to do with using Frontline as our hosting platform. And in terms of Frontline having to also have a portion of that to be a cybersecurity measure for their own database, because it's all going to be hosted in the web.
So you're using the cloud?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And so information that we have in this folder here, this is all in locked files that are part of our district file system as well. So
yeah, I would really strongly suggest you get Mr. Shohan and run some traps and just make sure, because a lot of districts, a lot of industry has gotten into big trouble in their personnel files and they get compromised. And we just want to make sure we got it locked down as we can.
That's correct.
Okay.
As with any software implementation,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna make
Sure.
sure we pilot that as well.
Yeah. Sure.
And take the same care that we do with our student services, record management.
Yeah, and we always have either Mark or Robert on our committees whenever we're looking at new software to make sure that they're able to provide that it is secure either through us and through our third party vendors as well.
I was keep back on. I think that we did ask Mark that when we at our last technology committee. Yeah, I think that he did elaborate and said that y'all do work together and that now I believe that y'all system it has been tested a couple of times and I believe that it is protected. Just to make mention, I believe that was a question that I think was brought that someone brought up. Okay. But I do believe that was and if I wrong in person name, I apologize, but I know that it surfaced somewhere in that conversation. But just to actually a quick question off of Mrs. Gordon's question. So for high school, middle school, how much kids are there? How many students is it now per adult? I know one time I thought like 10 students per adult.
At high school and middle school?
I mean, I'm just saying in general, how much is it now?
Well, our formulas are up there that we use, Mr. Smith. So when you're looking at the high school general education, it's approximately 19-1 that we staff for, but that varies depending on high school.
You know, and the other thing that we take into consideration also is we look at the high part of the school.
Correct.
And so that changes the index as well. So
that's correct.
It can be different for each school.
Do we know what's the state number? This is my question.
Okay, the state number is 35-1. And it's in that orange table at the very bottom where it says 9 through 12.
Gotcha.
And 35-1 per chapter 43, article 19 says that is the maximum number that they're supposed to have. And then on top of that, that's the additional requirement of no more than 150 students per day. And if you're a PE or a music teacher, you can see up to 240 students per day. That's the only caveat there.
Wow. That number has increased because it was 32 to 33.
That's correct.
It was 32 to 33 students in high school previously.
So if you look at our staffing formulas in relation to the state, we're a lot better.
That's correct.
And much safer.
Anything more on employment?
There's one more slide, Colonel, on employment, and that has to do with Ms. Walton and Carlos K. Right.
Carlos, you want to come up? So as I mentioned earlier, we did add this piece to HR this year, and that is district athletic director, because we needed it. We needed some controls. We needed some accountability across the district, and Carlos brings a lot of that to this role. And I'm going to turn it over to him. He's going to talk about what he's done and where we are, where we need to go.
So again, introduce myself. I'm Carlos Cage, and I currently serve in the role as district athletic director. What I've been charged with doing is putting policies and procedures in place to make sure it's consistent across the district. Also to make sure that compliance and all things dealing with compliance are also being followed as it pertains to the NFHS, which is the National Federation of High Schools, as well as the South Carolina High School League, to ensure that we are always in compliance with those rules and how they pertain in the governance of athletics. Also, I've been working to implement clear guidelines pertaining to monitoring what that looks like in the high school and middle school level, and also fostering a culture of accountability within Beaufort County schools. More specifically, what I've done is update the athletic guidelines, which you have a copy of that. That was completed for this school year. With those athletic guidelines, it basically is a framework for the rules and regulations within the district. It aligns and explains in detail what discipline looks like within our athletic programs, the accountability piece within our programs, and also addresses the integrity of academics as it pertains to our athletic programs. Also this year, for this 23-24 school year, updates were also made to the district sports packet. The sports packet is what each student athlete receives and must complete in order for them to be able to participate in the sport. It contains the parent permission piece, the athletic physical, it talks about concussion, it addresses the drug testing, random drug testing policy of Beaufort County, and it also addresses media, being able to photo our student athletes and put those on various sites within the district and social media sites. Also, when it comes to our leaders that govern our athletes, our coaches and ADs, we conduct a coaches convocation that was held as part of our Summer Institute at May River this year. I've also put into play, because that was all that we were doing previously. This probably about 2 weeks ago, we continued and added another layer in the convocation piece, which is a virtual convocation. That virtual convocation addressed all of our winter sports, which are currently going on, that's wrestling and basketball. We'll also have another virtual convocation in the spring for all of our spring sports. With these convocations, again, is going back and stressing policies and procedures, what they can and cannot do, the ARs that are aligning with those policies and procedures, and guaranteeing that information is staying fresh for our coaches and ADs. We also developed and had the opportunity to come before you on last week, guidelines for our middle school athletics. We established a constitution and bylaws and standardized what it looks like for our middle school athletes. The intent here was to recognize those young men and young women for the accomplishments that they are making and winning championships within the county. While we celebrate state championships, they don't have a platform. You are their platform, so we want to put them in front of you so that you can recognize them as they continue their journey on to that next level, which will be high school athletics. And finally, I worked close to update administrative regs. Specifically, I came before this committee when we updated the drug testing regulations, and that's one of the things that I'm tasked with. I go out with the testing group to all of the high schools when the random testing is administered, and also, again, updating other administrative regs dealing with athletics, administrative reg 36, 31, and 57, which is the reg that deals specifically with drug testing. So that's in a nutshell what I've done since I've been in this position. And if you have any questions, Mr. Smith.
Ms. K, I don't really have much questions. I'm just going to tell you I appreciate the work that you're doing. In recent conversation, I have learned of the what you just talked about. It's now the fall convocation that you just had. It said show me your face, don't log in. Yeah. So believe me, your coaches are getting the message, and I love the message that you're saying and that you and your team are doing. So I have no question. I appreciate the work that you're doing in this district.
Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions?
He's gone now.
Mr. Nason?
Mr. Nay and Mr. Dallas are both gone now.
Okay. Mr. Nay, I'll ask you first.
Neither one of them are
Neither
on.
one of them are. Okay, neither one of them are on. All right, all right. Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions or comments?
This was happens when you get all this information from this team. I don't. I think the only statement I'll make is we should have done this sooner with this position that you're in, creating. I'm so happy you're there. I know your work. Thank you. And thank you for the reporting again. I'm knocking this out the park. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I would just say, Coach Perry, that you've done an outstanding job. You know, since you was given the high care at the high school.
Mr. Cave, I have these comments. I've gotten some super feedback from coaches and the programs that you were the perfect guy You picked the perfect guy to come in and, you're coming from Whale Branch and being on the ground and knowing it. That was one of the best personnel moves, we've made in this district since I've been here. You deserve accolades for what you've done. It's appreciated. Okay, right choices, is that the next item?
That's me briefly. I failed to mention this at the beginning, the meeting, but Right Choices now, it's a little bit under our wings. And it's there because we wanted to redirect and help right choices. So in order to manage that piece, it is now an HR until we can get it set in the right direction and then we'll decide where it's going to land. But the purpose is to bring the program to compliance with national guidelines and expectations. National standards for alternative programs, look at the program that we have, see where we are, see where we need to go, and to put it in a position so that it can be a valuable tool for our students. Because our core belief is students that attend Right Choices belong to all of us. They belong to schools, they belong to the district office, and they belong to the so Right Choices should not be a throwaway system. And that's the reason it's here, because we're going to change it. We have consultants working with us now to make sure that we get on the right track. And we are working very hard to bring people in those positions at Right Choices that want to be there and are there for the children. So that's why it's on the HR now being put it on its right hands.
Wow. Wow.
Well, I actually said, I got this, all board members should go back and visit Right Choices, right? You definitely can, you can tell. So I ain't got nothing.
Ms. Carter?
I'm gonna hear Kiki's report. I'm gonna wait. I'm just coming. I'm gonna wait to hear your report because this was dear to my heart. So right, you know what we just said?
No, we're talking Right Choices.
Oh, I'm presenting. It's not Right Choice. Oh, you presented on
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear about the change. Having been I'm a director of that program, I'm happy to see that you're looking at getting straight, whatever that means. Looking at the national standards. And yes, our children deserve loving care. Just like the other children, and you know, we're not throwing them away. I'm so glad you said that. But I would like to see Right Choices move away from connectivity to this building. I don't think that's suitable for an alternative school program because, you know, if the police have to come or the mama coming with the belt, everybody running out of the city thinking something's going on with the district personnel. So I would like for a conversation for you guys to have about relocating. I know they're getting a kitchen, but that's no reason to keep them there. So other than that, that's my only concern is that I think they need to be on a site, not by themselves necessarily, but the school. Well, when we get our proposal together to like to come and present to this committee, what we're looking at, how we want to redesign the program, and be careful with that. No, I welcome it. I welcome it. But I do appreciate all that you guys are doing for it. It's not an easy subject to talk about. It really isn't, because nobody wants to talk about where places cancer, what's going on, and whether or not they're getting the educational value they should get. So I appreciate it. Thank you for letting us know. And the new leader, he's the right person to be talking to. And very successful putting programs together in other districts. A true.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions on?
I would say that I've been talking about this for years. I agree with school and it should be someplace else. We wouldn't have a school, alternative school.
Mr. Dallas, did you hear the right choice piece?
Probably didn't, he didn't hear, because he's
All right,
disconnecting.
all right. I visited Right Choices last spring, late last spring, and talked to Dr. Skaggs and Mr. Sanchez, and you're on the right track. I really fully support Louis' comments on obligation. It's not fair to the south of the Broad folks. They have to come all the way there. We should be more centralized. We gotta figure something out. But it is, if someone was to ask me the biggest weakness in this district, I think I would have to say the Right Choice is the alternative school. This is just right now our biggest challenge. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. But this is something that you've got to do a good job. And I'm glad it's in the right place to get it fixed.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. The word on the street, kids know. You don't want to go back to Right Choices no more. The kids know. And the kids know that I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, development and evaluation.
All right, sir. So we've given you, just to summarize, we've given you our governance. That's how we operate. We've given you the recruiting side. And then once we've got them in the door, how we place them and different metrics that we collect. And that takes us into our development and evaluation. And that means that once we have them as our employees, we need to offer continuous ongoing PD to ensure that our staff members are qualified and have the capacity to carry out all of the things that we're asking them to do. With that being said, I'm pleased to say that our staff members took advantage of over 60,000 hours last year of professional development. That picture in the lower right corner says 8,500 hours, and that was Summer Institute alone this year. So our staff members took advantage of 8,500 hours, 8,500 of PD during Summer Institute. That's pretty remarkable for an organization our size. And the other part is that we did a first in a long time, district training on December 1st last year. And that was called Bridging the Gap. It was a retreat where we learned about interpersonal skills and how to communicate with one another and how to communicate with the public and other departments. And then that same training was conducted with all principals and assistant principals at Summer Institute this year. To be able to help with that part, which actually leads into our next section in climate and culture and compensation, which comes at the end of our presentation today. On the next slide, Robin, we have currently about 330 hours per month of in-house professional development that we offer. We manage that through our professional learning and professional growth module, which is part of Frontline. And we have a person that handles all of that to make sure that everybody's kept up on their recertification hours, make sure that they're kept up as well with their any documentation they need to ensure that their certificate is valid at state level. And with that being said, to continue our PD, I'm going to turn it over to Kiki and Jerry as they talk about the next couple of exciting points.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Jerry Henderson. I'm the crisis prevention coordinator for Beaufort County School District. I presented before you all about 2 weeks ago in regards to security and safety. Tonight, I talk more so specifically about professional development that would be put in place to educate our stakeholders. In educating our stakeholders, emphasis is put on policies and procedures, in particular the district emergency management plan and our ARs that address school safety, such as the crisis plan, SS 58, and also communication. In regards to CPR, last year, by the end of the conclusion of the school year, we had trained at the district level over 200 stakeholders in regards to us, the CPR, Stop the Bleeding, and Narcan. And I say that stakeholders because it's not only educators that are in these sessions. We have We have their students, any students within the district that's 10 years or older can attend CPR, stop the bleeding and Narcan training. In addition, we educate our board members, if Colonel Guy can address that. He sat in one of our Thursday night class to become CPR certified. Everyone is responsible for school safety, and that's something that we've had to reiterate and stress to our students, faculty, staff, and also our community members. During the training this year, thus far, we've trained 98 educators and students and staff members in regards to CPR, first aid, stop the bleeding. On December 18th, we will be doing for the first time CPR training on Beaufort Island. So I've solidified the logistics for that. We will be taking over Captain Dan Burns and Lieutenant Levesque, along with an EMT personnel, and we will be training the staff of Beaufort Island and all students that are 10 years and older. We have 58 training scheduled for this year. Thus far this year, we've trained 917 personnel in various areas, whether it's CPR, stop the bleeding, fire code safety, active shooter training, district staff training, principal leadership training. Today, I work with 13 principals that are under the purview of Dr. Celeste Levan. We're at Beaufort Middle School, addressing again school safety, the changes that will be coming about during the upcoming school year in regards to the I Love You Guys program. Also CPR training, you all aware that we had mass casualty training on August 3rd. And that includes totally with our first responders from 12 agencies, over 500 personnel. We've also participated in state and national training, the National Safe School Conference. We've attended the National Drug Training Conference in Charleston that was held earlier this month. Threat assessment training, we work real close with SLED. We're on that distribution list for training in regards to our school crisis team. Annually, I go to every school twice, a minimum of twice a year, first semester and second semester, to conduct safe school training. So the school crisis teams are aware of policies, procedures, expectations, and to identify those soft spots that we need to address to enhance safety and security in the building. And I mentioned last time that upbeat data in regards to school survey. It stated a question: due to the available training I've received, I feel prepared to respond in an event of an unforeseen crisis. 92% of certified staff said yes. 89% of classified staff stated they feel they're prepared to respond. Again, owning the responsibility that, they are really the first responder. It's going to take 5 to 10 minutes before first responders actually show up on site. And I would like to reiterate too, all of our training is open to our first responders. Today, with the training of the principals, there was about 8 first responders there serving as panel members where the principals could ask questions and how they can enhance security in their building, but also share their expertise with our administrators. I could go on all night and talk about that, but at this point, I'm going to conclude. And if anyone have questions, I entertain those at this time.
No.
Okay. Ms. Gordon?
No, but thank you and your team for taking this very seriously, but what you've accomplished, I'm just blown away when I see I see everything, right? Because by law, I can't see everything. But what I do know, kudos to all of you, but the staff as well for participating to get those numbers. That's awesome. I would say one thing. I want to go to a training, but I'm geriatric right now. And you shared with. Yeah, right. So I am going to sign up for a class as soon as I learn how to. But thank you. Thank the team and everyone for what you're doing. I told Mr. Dr. Rodriguez, y'all need to raise all of you, but he didn't respond.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any comments? This is the strength, one of the real strengths of this district. And 2 things I wrote down notes is, one, I get that 10%. They haven't been trained yet. Those are the ones that need it the most. Everyone's ducking out on this. You got to grab them in. But more importantly, sustain what you have. Oftentimes, it's like this, a roller coaster. You have an issue, like we had at Beaufort High School, you ramp up, and then it fades away in memory and it goes down, and then you do this. We don't want that. We want a curve like this, okay? So make sure you're a champion. You're champions of this. Don't let us screw this up by not resourcing you and not keeping this high on visibility. Okay?
Mr. Dallas is back on too.
Okay, Mr. Dallas, do you have any comments?
No, sir, I have been away for a while trying to get back on, so everything I saw up to my departure was superb, so thank you.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
Well, one thing I will say that I walked in the room, I did feel I felt guilty, and because over the break I was buying some workout shoes over in Georgia, and as we was walking to the outlets, a lady fell, and we didn't know, and the first thing I thought was, I ain't got my seatbelt car, I ain't touching her. But the second, yeah, well, you know anybody, and when we called, and I was just thinking, we just something that we just talked about it at one of our board meetings, and I am one of those people who she talked about that if something happened, it's not certified to touch somebody, and that really resonated when I saw it. I'm like, oh, really? So coming into this room today, I made me thought about that, and I do appreciate that how active you have been to get everyone CPI certified, and as well as the stick pin thing, whatever that's called. Excuse me for not being the correct grammar right now, but most importantly, that's what stuck to me when I came to that door. And so I was, I appreciate that.
We've scheduled 15 sessions of CPR stop to breathing and Narcan. I work close with Captain Burns and Lieutenant Levesque. We actually do our professional development scheduling in March, April of the school year. So the actual PD calendar is emailed to principals in June for the entire school year. So we believe in being proactive and giving them the entire schedule way in advance so they can build their PD schedule around our schedule, so it's not an inconvenience. And if you're available on January 9th, which is a PD day, we will have our I Love You Guys training at Battery Creek all day that day. We have Michael Peck coming from Independent School District in Houston, and he was a principal of a school 4,000 strong. He will be training our crisis team and our leadership team at Battery Creek. In addition, we have Dr. Sharon Gibbons from Columbia, who will also be doing training with our support team, such as counselors, social workers, behavior management specialists at ACE. She will be working with them with the topic of supporting stakeholders after a traumatic event, because whenever there's a traumatic event, trauma will follow.
What's the time?
The training at Battery Creek will be from 9 to 4. The training at ACE will be from 9 to 12. The next CPR class is December 14th, so you can come right here. We'll take care.
January 9th, you said?
January 4th.
January.
That's a PD day. So there are no kids in the building. And as of yesterday, 85 folks have registered for that training.
That's really excellent.
No kids can get in school on the 9th?
On the 4th is a PD
She did
day.
say the 9th.
She did say the 9th.
You did. I'm sorry. What is it? January 4th. January 4th.
And then on the
From
14th.
from 9 to 4 o'clock on the 4th. And the training simultaneously will be going on at ACE from 9 to 12.
And then December 14th.
The CPR training here at the district office.
Do we have to take pictures?
You don't have a written test afterwards. You'll be doing practical app throughout the training. Colonel Dyer received 100 on his test. That's 9 to 12 on the 4th of December.
Thank you.
Do we get the bus driver to that yet?
Our training is available to everyone. We leave that up to department heads. If they reach out to me, I will coordinate all training. And the thing is that, and I say this from my counseling days, and I am still a certified counselor, but we have to be reminded of everyone in the district, whether they're contract or not, they're mandated reporters, and also they should be trained in all different areas because they have access to students.
I just asked a question.
But to answer your question, no.
Okay, I'm sure Mr. Cave, we got coaches though, right?
Yeah, that is requirement, state requirement. All coaches must have CPR AED certification.
And as a matter of fact, there was a coach in our last Saturday training, November 4th. I'm working with him from Bluffton Middle School. We're going to be training his coaches all in one day. And we'll even work with schools and we'll bring the team to the school, Captain Burns and Lieutenant Levesque, and they'll do the training with the entire staff there on site. So we don't have to take them out of the building. Again, we're going to be doing training on Saturday at River Ridge Academy coming up here soon. Again, training is on Thursday night. We have it on Saturdays. We have it during the weekdays, so there's no excuse. If you look at in my learning plan or ask, and I can email you a copy of my PD, I submitted it to the last board for the safety and security. You will see the PD schedule for CPR for the entire year, remainder of the year on that schedule.
And that made me feel bad now. Mrs. Gordon so elegantly said that she already put in for y'all to get we gotta get pay raise now. You ain't gotta make me feel bad now.
All right. Can we move on?
I have a question.
Yes. You have a question?
So how long is the certification gonna have?
2 years, American Heart Association CPR certifications for 2 years. And also in regard to that, we also work with churches. I've gone and presented to churches in the local community, and we've scheduled CPR training for various churches. So again, we want everyone trained because we want those dismal numbers that we heard initially last year to improve. There's no excuse. We're available to train at any location, all community members also.
We move on.
Yes, good evening, afternoon, evening, good evening, everyone. I'm LaKensha Swinton. I'm the Director of Employee Services, but I also serve as the reunification lead for Beaufort County School District. And just piggybacking off what Mrs. Henderson just presented, and doubling down on what Colonel Geyer said, we're working very diligently to build systems that will last no matter who is in these positions and who steps into these roles. We want to build a comprehensive safety program that includes the reunification of students. So what you have photographed here on this slide includes the professional development that we did, and this is building on what Dr. Hunt spoke about earlier, continuing to build on the professional development. And everyone in this room who flanks me around this room has dedicated themselves to making sure that they are available at a moment's notice to be able to respond to a crisis situation. In the middle there is one of the 3 district crisis response utility trailers that we now have that allow us to be able to set up and establish a reunification site anywhere. Ms. Henderson has been beating the ground, finding multiple reunification sites for us to be able to utilize at a moment's notice in the event that we ever have to respond to a crisis situation. And then also we participated in the mass casualty drill, which included for the first time a reunification of those students, those individuals who played in the roles of students and parents. The whole focus of this is to make sure that that we are ready at a moment's notice to be able to respond to a crisis situation and that we can accurately and orderly reunite those students with their parents, and the community is aware of what it is that we're doing. It's a very visible program, so you cannot miss the work that we're doing with regards to the reunification. It's not something that we want to keep hidden. We want it to be visible because we want the community and our parents and students to know that we are ready in the event of a crisis situation. That's all I have with regards to that. So I'm gonna step out of the way so Mr. Diaz can jump in.
In transitioning to Mr. Dees, I almost called him Diaz. You left me on the hang on there. Part of the upbeat survey we take every year, Matt, we take a look at school safety and order, and you can see the results that are running from spring 2021. Rules for student behavior are consistently enforced by teachers. We're looking at also disciplinary practices are applied fairly to all students. That's the numbers in the middle. So we're working on that with student services and the code of conduct. But the top part I think is important because this is our staff members saying that they feel safe in their building and they feel that the school is a physically safe place for students. And so those numbers tend to trend quite high. And that last part is just what Ms. Henderson was speaking about. That's a new question we introduced this year, and that is based on the training that they've received. Do they feel prepared to respond in the event of an unforeseen crisis? And of our instructional staff, 92% said yes, and non-instructional said 89%. So that's just to let you know we track metrics on everything.
Okay. This next slide, we're talking about again the development and evaluation. I have to brag on our mentor team. We have 6 fabulous district mentors that go out daily to support our induction 1 level teachers, our induction 2, and our induction 3 level teachers. Currently, we have 228 induction 1 teachers, 72 induction 2, and 14 induction 3. And those induction 3 teachers will go through a formal evaluation next year. The district lead mentors provide a systematic and comprehensive approach to fully supporting and assimilating induction teachers into our district by building trusting relationships with these educators to help improve retention and create a mindset more ongoing professional development. Again, this team of 6 provides support to K-12 induction teachers. We have 1 member that solely supports special education. We also have 7 retirees who also work with guide professional growth for 95 additional teachers through the use of best practices. Additionally, the district lead mentoring team has created a district-wide system of support, which includes training over 600 state certified school buildings. School building mentors, overseeing both the district level support sessions and oversight school-based induction support sessions. The induction teachers are differentiated based on the needs of the induction 1, 2, and 3 year teachers. School-based induction support sessions target the individual needs of teachers within a variety of schools across the district. And we also have school-based support mentors for all of our induction teachers. Beaufort County utilizes a multi-tiered system of support of induction teachers to promote educational growth within the domains of planning, instruction, classroom, environment, and profession. Yeah, that's
fine. Let me ask one question. Do you do anything to provide induction teachers any housing advice?
The recruiting team, yes. We do have people that reach out and offer support in that fashion, but I send that to the mentors and they reach out to those.
That's one of the issues I've found. I talk to new teachers is trying to find affordable housing, trying to find a place to live that's close by. And I'm just wondering if we should maybe consider having a partnership with one of the rental agencies or real estate community or something, so that we have a menu of possible housing locations, costs, and so on, that we can give them, because we come here from who knows where to try to find, this is a neighborhood, this is how much it costs, this is how far it is from the school, so on. I've been told, it's anecdotal, that is one of the reasons we lose teachers, is because they can go to Savannah and they can find housing that's close to their school. And we got big time apartments going in right now, and especially in this area. And as anybody, I stepped into one of the new places in on Salem Road, and they have a 1-bedroom apartment. If you make under $50,000 a year, a 1-bedroom apartment for $850 a month, brand new. But is that kind of information, you gather that up and say, this is where we got, there's where you can sign a lease, this is what it costs, this is how much it costs to put a deposit down. That sometimes is a problem too.
Well, we talked about that. We've talked about that in the past about affordable housing, and Jennifer and I actually went and met with Chamber of Commerce to talk about waiving the fees, for electricity and water and all those things, and I don't know where we are with that, but we've tried that.
It's tough, Colonel, as well, because we have the military places, and so VA, the basic housing allowance tends to drive the market.
Oh, yes.
And so because of that, a lot of times our new teachers, especially the young teachers, they are still in the red, even with the salary increases.
Right.
So.
Yeah, okay.
And we've also, remember us talking about, that was one of the counties that actually built housing for teachers, and they charged them a flat rate, for new teachers coming in.
Now, Mr. Smith has mentioned that to some of the developers that, looking at places that put in the contract that we give them something, they give us something. And that's, I'm big on that. Pleased for that. So we're looking at that as well. Thank you.
Okay. You don't talk about HR pockets. That's deep pockets. Pockets.
Good evening, I'm Anita Parker, and I'm the district's ADEPT coordinator for Beaufort schools. And ADEPT is the acronym for our state's teacher evaluation program. And my responsibilities here include everything from ensuring that we have appropriately trained evaluators who can carry out the evaluations for teachers under all areas of certification and throughout the entirety of their careers. Teachers are evaluated annually in some method every year. The type of evaluation that they are engaged in is differentiated based on their contract levels and the results of their previous evaluations and also their areas of certification. So we ensure that we have evaluators that can cover all of that. Also, I'm responsible for oversight of implementation at each of our schools. And so I've set up a cadre of assistant principals who I call ADEPT liaisons, who then meet with me and then are responsible for oversight at their individual sites. We also have a program from the State Department of Education that allows us to, it's an online platform. So I can see what each school is doing and they can see what each evaluation team is doing for their staff. We have Beaufort County, in fact, was recognized among all of the districts in the state that we are in the top 10 as far as implementation, training, having the appropriate people provide the evaluation results. And so we were happy to find out that we were among the top 10. And the chart you see beside that, the 22-23 year evaluation levels there, that pie chart gives you some of the contract levels and the number of folks that participated in those evaluations at those contract levels. The state of South Carolina has 3 teacher contract levels: induction, and then of course you heard us refer to induction 1, 2, and 3. And of course what's provided for them there is differentiated based on that. And then annual, and then there are 4 levels of annual, and then continuing, which is the in other states that would be a tenured teacher. And so they're by contract level, they're at the end of their career. But again, as we said, they are evaluated every year differently based on those things. So those are the numbers that we have provided there. Robin, if you go to the next slide. The next slide there lists for you the different contract levels, and then we separate them or differentiated them by their areas of certification and some of their job assignments too. So we have classroom teachers, and we provided numbers for you there, the number of classroom teachers at those different contract levels. There are 3 areas that the Department of Ed refers to as special areas now. We've not always had evaluations for those special areas. When I started out, I was a speech language therapist, and there was not an evaluation process at the state level for us. So, and we've had some since then, but this one now, SC Lead, they have aligned each of the evaluations for each of those 3 special areas: school counselors, school librarians. They've gone from calling them media specialists back to school librarians, which was hard for me to believe. and speech language professionals, they're called. And so their evaluation, the structure of it, the goals of it, the way it's carried out is aligned to that for classroom teachers, but based on the national standards and South Carolina standards for the expectations of folks in those various content areas. So then we give you the total numbers there on the far right of those folks, and then the total number of those evaluated. The second blue line there is the evaluation type. So again, as I mentioned, teachers being evaluated throughout the entirety of their career, the type of evaluation that they go through changes according to their advancement throughout the years, and also based on results of those years, because they can be recommended for different ones. Once they've met the state requirement, then there are different things, different caveats that could allow them to participate at different levels. And so we have the formative levels, we have GBE, which is goals-based evaluation, comprehensive, which is relatively new. I think within the last 2 or 3 years, we've done that one. It's similar to a summative evaluation, but not quite as complete. But it gives us a hint as to whether or not that person needs to be engaged in a more in-depth conversation, evaluation, which would be the summative evaluation. And then letter of agreement is different. The process for letter of agreement is pretty much as its name suggests. It is not a contract that the state considers a contract, but a letter of agreement that this teacher will serve for us in an assigned position for a particular length of time. And so if they should decide, I can't do this, beyond this date or whatever, they can leave no problems and no questions asked. And the employer can also say, by this date, we expect to have a teacher in place, etc. And then that person can be released. So that is the understanding in that letter of agreement. Folks who are employed under a letter of agreement, though, we provide for them the same supports that we provide for teachers who are contracted. They get to participate in all of the professional development that is provided for other teachers at their school. They get any individual support that they might need to carry out their particular position, because of course, anybody that touches our children, we want to make sure that they have the support that they need and the resources that they need to take care of the students for whom they are responsible.
You know a lot. Also, you're a very important person in this district.
Am I? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I always see you walking, but I never knew what you do now. Now I know you. You're in the state, now VIPs. But it also, do you work? To what entity do you work with? The people that work
international.
The assistant super what you got? No, the people working on Miss Dixon.
We cover all of them. All of the folks that they supervise, each of them is a teacher.
Right.
And so they will be evaluated again throughout the continuum of their career, no matter what their contract level is. In fact, when we do audits, in fact, my very first year here, Miss Walton gave me an assignment, and she said, I want to know how well evaluations are being carried out. I want you to devise a method to audit evaluations, and we do that annually now. And this year, I even implemented a mini audit, because there are some things that happen at the very beginning of the year, like August, September, to set up the evaluations so that they're ready to go and carry them out so that they will be done correctly within the system that the state has provided. And so we did a mini audit, but then myself and a team of the mentors, selected group of mentors, we do a very thorough, very in-depth audit. They hate to know when that's going on, and we provide the results of that to the EDs so that they can see also what's happening at their schools. And then they go back out and offer support and guidance, because each of them has been, they underwent a similar process prior to becoming ED. So they know what's involved, and they understand that this process, support and the evaluation of teachers, has different requirements, or they help us to do different things. Some of it is so that teachers can advance their certificates from an initial to a final certificate, a professional certificate. And also then so that they can just, as we talked about professional development, so that we know what areas need to be looked at by principals when they're providing different types of PD. Sometimes it's a group type of PD, you know, like a grade level may need, or a school may need, or an individual teacher may need a particular type of professional development. So yeah, we work with them and we inform them about the outcomes of the things we do. And each of them has been trained. I was trying to make sure that everybody is trained under the new system. All three of them have participated in training for this, so they understand the new evaluation system also.
Mr. Dallas, do you have any questions or comments?
He's gone again.
He's not.
He let them know, he said the team is doing an awesome job, he appreciates it, but his internet keeps going out, so he has signed completely off.
Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, yes, I'd like to carry on for Mr. Dallas. I'm gonna use one of his favorite words. Good teaching.
You know that, and you know me.
Kudos. Thank you. I had the privilege of being trained by you. I had the privilege of you coming out to the school when I was going. I had the privilege of you sitting down with me, the audit. But you're always so professional. Thank you. No matter how bad it looks, from my point of view, you make sure that before you leave, I know what to do, what to correct, that you're there for me. And I know all of the others appreciate what you've done. I don't think people realize the depth that you guys go to train us, to keep us here, not down here trying to catch up. Because I remember when we switched over to this new system, but I appreciate the manner.
Thank you, thank you.
I do.
And the evaluator training, by the way, is a 3-day process.
It's a 3-day and
all day and very packed with activity.
Yes, but 3 activities. We learned, believe it or not, actually I did. I mean, I learned a lot.
Thank you.
But and I've said this to you before, but not recently. I value you. I value what you do. And I know that you have so many people that you touch, trying to make sure this process goes well. And even for those who don't do well on their evaluation, you're so kind to them. But I just want this team to know, I'm not just saying this because I love myself from Ms. Alice, but y'all are and keep it up and keep the training going on, you know, for the evaluations. And I think my colleagues are pleased to know that there is an evaluation system yearly.
Yes.
For our teachers.
Right.
And keep it up. I don't know how you do it.
All right, thank you. And my heart, not, you know that, and the strategy that you talked about also showed up in the upbeat survey. Matt, what was their?
Well, we have that on the last slide,
Okay.
but it has to do with that people think that the evaluation system is fair and that the principals accurately evaluate their teaching. And so it's in the 90s. I mean, it's very high.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Dallas, they do have a strategy.
Mr. Campbell, ma'am.
I remember when you came on.
Right? Oh, I was just young then, right?
You've got a great.
Thank you.
Kudos to you and to what you do. Would you do me a favor and could you provide me copies of your evaluation instruments?
I will.
You give it to Ms. Christianberry and I can get it to me. I'd just like to look at the forms and what you fill out.
Okay, the forms are in a system, but I'd be happy to sit with you one day and kind of walk you through some.
Or just run me some screenshots, okay? That'd be perfect.
Sure, but
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item.
Yes, sir. So to round out development and evaluation, we also evaluate all administrators, and then all classified folks are evaluated as well. But one of the things we wanted to highlight here is our HR boot camp. It's something that we hold annually in the summertime for all principals and assistant principals. And it is a chance, this year we did it at TCL Low Country Institute, Culinary Institute. And the reason why we took everybody there was to just get them away from their school sites where they would be distracted, and they could pay attention to our updates about our policies and procedures. We also had legal updates. We talked also at that time about liability and insurance policies, athletic program administration, and then the evaluation expectations. And so that helps us to set the tone with the administrators before the year starts, before the teachers and classified folks come back, so that they can then incorporate that into their strategic planning and their messaging when their employees come back. So we wanted to highlight that. And Colonel, that rounds out our development and evaluation component. Any other questions, sir?
Before you go, Mr. Smith, do you have anything?
No, I was just gonna say, when Mrs. Kiki was speaking, back when she was doing her, piece on what she was gonna say, she started off by saying that when she leaves a job, she makes sure whoever takes it, can do it. I just want to tell her, I do agree, because I remember watching her first baby, I believe, and I may be wrong, it was the back to school expo. Even though she's gone, it still rings like loud throughout this community. Not only throughout this community, other communities have strived to do that. So I just want to thank her on that, and do let her know that that's one thing I can say, that she is a woman of her word. She said that, and you are appreciated for that.
I learned from the best. If you're gonna learn systems, you wanna be under Alice Walton.
That's it. That's it.
You wanna walk alongside Jerry Henderson.
That's
You
it.
learn about the systems. So, and that's the way that we operate. We wholeheartedly in everything that we do, because we won't always be in this position. We might hit the lottery one day and that's the system needs to live. I don't want to, the system needs to live on. So we believe in that.
We own that Caribbean now?
We.
Everybody. You going by yourself?
We stick together.
Ms. Gordon, do you have anything? Ms. Gordon, do you have anything?
No, backtracking on what she said about the expo, I remember too, when we started doing expo, and you're right, it has turned over, whatever, but it's still going strong, and that's a testament to this team for the hard work they do, but also making sure that others know what the process is. So thank you.
Mr. Campbell? I have a comment. When you talk to principals, you've got to make them understand that you should be contacted when they have HR issues well before it blows up.
Yes, sir.
And get advice before it blows up. Most, unfortunately, human resources, has a bad rap. And the bad rap comes from the office, the Toby in the office.
Yep.
Everybody can't stand him because he's always the one that has, no, you can't do this.
Great.
And so one of the things you have to understand, and they have to understand, and I don't know that they do. And sometime, please invite me to come talk to them about that. I would love to talk to them about executive actions with HR and how it can work for you.
Yes, sir.
Rather than respond to you.
Yes, sir.
So that's really key. And I'm glad to see that you're focusing on them, but sometimes they need to have a little heart to heart about the bad guys in HR.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Someone else can tell them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and our message this year, Colonel, was it's policy, it's not personal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, but again, we reiterate that every
Yeah.
chance we get.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay, let's move on.
Well, you figured out by now, Operations Committee, our goal is to outlast everybody.
Yeah.
As we present all of our information.
Right.
So, with that being said, we transition to our final category here, and that's climate and compensation. And, This year, the board approved a starting salary for beginning teachers of $48,566 and also $1,500 locality supplement for all employees, which brings our salary for a first-year teacher with 0 years experience and a bachelor's degree to $50,066. That puts us at the top in the state. Charleston County is close at a close second at $48,146 for their starting salary. So we just wanted to highlight that because we are talking about compensation. That is one of the indicators here in OE4. But we're going to turn it over to Ms. Kiki now because there's another chunk of compensation when we're talking about total rewards and other things that we offer besides just the cash value.
I apologize for vibration, but I can't take the heat. It's about 2 seconds away from passing out. So I'm back with I'll turn it off. So I'm back again, this time getting to talk about my actual role, which is employee services. And this is an opportunity for us to talk about the work that we do with regards to climate and compensation, because sometimes we need to make sure that we're taking care of the people that are taking care of our most important resource, which is our students. And so my role is unique in the opportunity that I have where I get to focus on how do we make people feel good about the work that they're doing? How do we make sure that we're meeting the needs of our staff members? So Ms. Walton has been extremely gracious in bringing me into this role and being able to try to work to meet the needs. How do we take the human services aspect of the work that we're able to do in our community and apply that to our staff? And so we've been able to provide over 3,000 hours of mental health counseling to our staff members. That's over 355 people. So that's about 10% of our staff have taken, at least 10% of our staff have taken advantage of mental health services that are being offered by our school district at no cost to them. That is huge because we know about the stigma that is associated with mental health, and for our folks to be expected to show up and do that work, and when they're struggling with their own mental and personal issues, having that as a resource has been invaluable. We have had the fortunate pleasure of having Hello Hero to serve as the sole provider for mental health services that are provided virtually. And then this school year, we actually rolled out an RFP to bring on 2 new additional providers. So we will soon be rolling out Gaggle and then bringing on Right Direction Family Services. So we're expanding the opportunities for our staff members to be able to take advantage of those mental health services. And we're encouraging them to be able to take advantage of that and, you know, really work to meet their needs. If we can do our due diligence with regards to providing these services and making sure that it's accessible, that it's private, that it's confidential, people were more likely to engage in the services. So we're very proud of that. We're also proud of the community partnerships that we have that are also in place through human resources to meet the needs of our staff members, because we see that as staff members come through our office, sometimes they might have needs that we're not able to meet as a school district. And so we partner with Right Direction Family Services and Beaufort County Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Department to be able to meet those needs that exceed the expertise of our school district. And finally, my new baby is the Epic After School Child Care Program. I can't see the numbers.
That's gonna be tough on there too. Yeah, just.
It's okay. So, and from the time that we started this program, which was the 2021 school year, up to this point now, we have increased the number of employees that are taking advantage of this program every year. And we've also increased the number of students that are participating in this program. We started with 281 employees and 379 and enrolling 379 students. And we are currently at 342 staff members who have enrolled. And this number has actually changed since we did this slide. We're at 487 students and we're on track to exceed 500 students this year. But the thing that we are most proud of is that in a community that it is hard to find childcare. I just went trying to search for a daycare for my grandson, and it is a waiting list everywhere you go, whether it is a paid program, whether it is a free program, every place has a waiting list. We have been able to add a value of $1,140,000 for our employees, and that is huge. And not many school districts in the state of South Carolina or in the country can say that they have prioritized the needs of employees and children to be able to provide this service. And so we're looking forward to the board continuing to commit to support our EPIC program. Our mental health program for employees. And as we continue to research and find other ways to meet the needs of our, there's a number of our folks that have done, they've done the work on the front end to get them here. It's our responsibility to make sure that we can retain them and that we can attract the best and the brightest. So we appreciate your commitment to this, and just if you have any questions, I'm available. I won't turn my camera on until I move. I'm sorry. No, you can.
I just have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
That large number that you just said, the last number that you just said.
Yes.
How you gonna fund that? Where you gonna fund that money at?
That's for you to figure out.
Oh, shoot.
And Mr. Smith, I'll be honest with you, the way that it does not seem like there are going to be any more programs opening in the community that would alleviate us from having to do this. And our folks need this program. Our children believe in this program. They, from K through 8, 487 students across Beaufort County School District are staying in their school buildings until 5:30 in the afternoon to participate in this program. It's something that our employees are taking advantage of, because if you think about it, we're asking employees to be here to provide services. Some of them are staying behind to provide additional services to students who are struggling as we're coming out of the pandemic, and we're trying to work to meet the needs of those students. So we're meeting needs. That's what we're doing, is taking care of our people. You matter is not just a slogan to us. We want to be able to look people in the eye and truly say you matter.
Well, we're going through a process.
Yes, sir.
To give the superintendent our budget priorities.
Yes, sir.
And that's going to be on my priority list. You know, and we're gonna have to figure out how we can do this, but
Yes,
I have to tell you that after-school childcare program is a big and profitable investment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's an investment in retention.
And I will tell you that this has not been the cost to our budget. This is the savings that have been given to our employees. Because we look at the average cost of after-school childcare, not full daycare, but after-school childcare averages anywhere from $50 to $75 a week. So if we take just the median of that and say $62.50 per week that we're providing to our employees who are taking advantage of this, we've given a savings. You all have given a savings, because we can't say we without you. You all have given a savings of over $1 million to our employees.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a team player. I was just wondering, you know, how you gonna stop this? How you gonna jump this thing off? Because you know you pretty good. Now you just said it's your baby now, so you find money real good. So I'm trying to figure out, you know.
And if there are opportunities, I will say this, and Ms. Walton has supported us. If there are opportunities for us to see grants, if there are availabilities of partnerships within the community, we will always entertain them. That's no problem. That's no problem. And if you hear of any, please, by all means, let us know, because we're open. We're in the business of meeting the needs of our employees, because if we can keep them, that benefits our students in the classroom, which is the end goal of what we're all here for.
I agree. No, that's just what I was looking for. No, honestly, but no, I was just, you know, saying we gonna work some grants or something out. But I agree. This is very important, because this aligns up right with after school programs. And those people who give out those services. Trust me, I know. We're on the same page.
We hope that we will push the legislators that are in our community to start thinking about this as a service to our employees.
Ms. Gordon? Yeah. Question?
No, I'm with Chris. I am, and I'm sold. I'm trying to find $1 million right now. Anything that we can do to help. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions on it? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Rosella?
We're tagging each other in.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosella Robinson. I'm the benefits coordinator with Beaufort County School District. And what I want to talk about is we look here, no change to employees' benefits premium. And that is another plus for our employees as we're looking at that right now. There's going to be no increase to the health insurance premium going into 2024. There are some things that will change because of age and salaries, like optional life, supplemental long-term disabilities, because they're based upon age and salary. So those things will be changing. But as far as the health, our employees, they have not been a health premium increase for employees for the past 3 years.
Wow.
And so the employer portion has gone up, but not the employee. So we look at that. So as you're looking at the slide here, you'll see the life insurance and everything and what they're looking at, 58 cents per $10,000. And I always tell my new hires coming in, especially those ones right out of college, get that $10,000 term life. Don't leave mom and dad with those student loans, because you pay less than you would go, you get a soda machine for that $10,000 life insurance. And then if they have a health plan, they automatically have a basic life insurance of $3,000. That's no cost to them. That's employer cost for that. That's 32 cents per month for them to have that. It's what the employer pays for them to have a $3,000 if they have one of the health plans. And then we also came in and we offered policies that are not offered by the state to give the employees some options for that. So I'll supplement our individual policies for employees. We have the critical illness, we have short-term disability, a universal life, an accident insurance, a all-state cancer policy, and a hospital stay policy. And the good thing about those are with our third-party vendor, Ward Services, is through Trustmark Insurance, and those are policies that even if they leave us, they retire, they resign, those are individual policies, they can keep those policies at the same premiums that they're paying now. And they can carry them with them. So that is something that we offer to them.
Okay. Good.
Retirement contributions. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. Retirement contributions, employees are required to 9% is what we're required to participate in the retirement plan. And that is mandated by the state. There's no option to, if you're a full-time benefits eligible employee, you must contribute to one of the retirement plans that's offered by the state. 9% is what's required for the employees to contribute. The employer contribution as of this July did increase to 23.81%. So for every employee, the district is contributing 23.81% to on top of their retirement contribution. And if they have that state optional retirement, which is a defined contribution plan, 5% of that 23.8% goes directly into their fund, into their retirement account. So that is something that they have. And when you look at it, and I always tell employees that if they do the basic retirement plan, which I call the defined benefit plan, the SCRS, they don't see that employer contribution until they retire, because that's what allows them to be able to continue to receive that monthly benefit for the remainder of their life. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. With that 23.81%, now you know how we give that bonuses, and now y'all round that into the salary, correct? Is that a part of that?
The localities?
Yes, ma'am.
No, the locality stipend is not a part of that, does not go into their benefits, their compensation for that, because retirement is not withheld from it.
Gordon, do you have any questions?
No, only to say I love Rosella. I remember when she came on board, don't you? A great asset. People I know, but when you go see Rosella, she is going to tell you the truth. She and Miss Belden. And if you do take her advice, because I remember when I sat down with you 2 times, I wasn't afraid of it because you were upfront, and I knew that what you were telling me was procedurally law, and it was great information. So I appreciate over the years that you've done, but know that all these young people coming to you, I hope they listen. Yeah. I hope they listen, because I know something. The rest of they probably. But Rosella and Velvet, they're here till 7, 8 o'clock at night. We're Robin.
Not no more.
You don't see her in that.
No, I mean, that wasn't. Would be there. And if it's a board night or whatever, Robin would be here too. So I'm glad you're going. Thank you for all that you do. Oh, Bob is still here.
One thing, last year, I believe, you sent out to the employees a statement of their total compensation. Please do that again. Please recruit that. Because, you know, a lot of kids get out of college, they do not understand the benefits part and the health insurance and the retirement and everything else. You know, they get matching IRAs, and this isn't a matching IRA. And this is a very, very key point that a lot of folks don't really appreciate. But when you set that out last year, I thought that's going to help in this right here. Keep doing that. That's good stuff. Thank you.
This was I ain't gonna tell you, but I saw you. So you know, did but you know.
You didn't say anything.
Mr. Smith, she leaves until Alice leaves and then she comes back. I've seen the circle.
I'm just saying. Hey, comrades, not me now.
So, sir, here we are, Operations Committee. We're going to land the plane on this. This is a piece that we find valuable. We do it twice a year. We have a partnership with Teach Upbeat. It is a platform that we use to gather information from instructional staff and non-instructional staff 2 times per year, once in the spring and once in the fall. Information gathered in the fall is used by school principals as they partner with their executive directors and executive coaches from Upbeat to identify goals in their building that they want to work on. And then we measure again in the spring. So these are just some highlights from this last fall. And I wanted to just kind of show you a couple of the areas on the instructional side. These were all increases, pretty significant from the 21-22 school year. And those are in the areas of inclusion and belonging. That means that the employees at the school strive, they feel like to help all students feel like they belong. Evaluation of teachers, as we mentioned, you can see up there, the evaluation of teachers is just right about 90%. Equity of opportunity, meaning that opportunities are accessible to all teachers, regardless of aspects of personal identity, and administrators respect all the backgrounds. We also have care and commitment of teachers, and that is something that talks about employees in the school. They feel go above and beyond to support the students. And finally, self-efficacy of teachers. And that is, I feel like I'm doing a good job as a teacher, and that I'm able to support the academic, social, and emotional needs of my students. On the non-instructional side, those are our classified and professional folks, anybody that doesn't teach kids directly. And that 4 areas there, belonging and well-being, we kind of talked about that, which is they feel like they belong at their school and they can see themselves coming back and that people care about them. Self-efficacy, they feel like they're doing a good job. Satisfaction and purpose, they find a sense of purpose in the work they do each day and they look forward to coming to work each day. All high at 92%. And then finally, care and commitment of staff. And that means that employees in the school, they feel go above and beyond to support students and care about their well-being. So those were areas of highlights. We always take a look at the areas there that we have to grow as well. We didn't present those for you today, but we're in talks about those currently.
Yes, actually, we talked about, once again, technology. We have a plethora of information that we're going through right now. And this is was something that some people in the community, some teachers have asked me, you know, I guess in terms of this this tool right here, in terms of the responses, you know, were we reading them and were we getting them? Probably some other questions, but due to time today, and I won't go into it, but I would definitely like to have revisit this conversation in terms of this piece with the operations committee again at just another time, just to ask a couple more questions and to more just to understand these sort of questions and what that look like, that process. Due to time, I won't go over that today, but sure. Thank you for bringing that to us.
You're welcome. And the superintendent gets a copy of all this as well, so we'll be more than happy to work through his office to meet the needs that you have.
Okay.
Ms. Gordon, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not.
Mr. Campbell?
No, I don't.
We're going to make a motion here to recommend this be approved by the full board and consent agenda. And I want to make a statement before we have that motion put out there, making myself. This is really impressive. And I'm in my report, I want to mention that.
Please do.
Yeah, and I'll call on y'all to chime in as well during that operations report. But I would also like you to be prepared during that time to show this slide. This last slide. This is really encapsulates everything that you do. And this is amazing. This is amazing. But I agree with Mr. Smith. I would like to hear more. I'd like to see the by school data. So we see how each school is doing on this. This is the big picture, and that's good for the board. But the operations committee, I think we need to see by school. And so in a future operations committee meeting.
Right, we will certainly care to talk about BS. And you know, once the survey comes get that hand, they really belong to him, so we will let him know that that's what you would like to do.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, this time I'll make a motion that we move this forward. This is OE2 4, excuse me. That we that we may move forward OE4 personal administration report, the longest report that the operations committee see all year long. I'm not excuse me. I can't put that in there. I'm just pushing back OE4. Yes. You put it on my side. I'm OE4. Yes, no, I make a motion that we move that.
And I'll second that motion. Any more discussion?
Now I would just like to say, I want everybody in this room to know I appreciate each and every one of you because this is a lot. This was a plethora of information. But for me and how I understand how I process my mind of thinking, it helps me out when I'm out there in the community talking to different people with it about this information that y'all gave us. And it wasn't not a microwave. It wasn't the microwave way. It was the long term understanding it. Y'all come knock on my door because I make sure you understand why I leave this door with it. I appreciate each and every one of you today. I really do. Honestly, you and Dr. This staff, I appreciate it.
I'm putting that you're also moving it to the consent agenda, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So, any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. I want to thank you. It's been hot. It's been long. I appreciate everything that you do and that you held us up. This has really been very valuable for the committee. Be very valuable to the board. I'm going to recommend, we do record this, right?
It is recording.
I'm going to recommend that they all watch this because everybody needs to know. But unfortunately, we can't spend 2 hours in the board meeting doing this. But we will pass along our views of this performance. And I really want this last slide shown as part of that report so that we can encapsulate all that you've done. Thank you so very much. So I now need to just have the board members stay. We have some things to do for a little bit. But thanks again.
I'd like to say my staff. I'd like to publicly thank them for all of their hard work. Thank you for staying here. You couldn't ask for a better team.
No,
they're always there. They're Johnny on the spot. If I ever ask for anything, I have it in the flesh and never any argument or. So I just want to publicly thank you and let you know how much I appreciate it.
And I thank you too, because you're always there.
No, it's customary for the chief to have the last word, but it is leadership. You know that, sir. It's leadership.
Yeah. Can I make a motion? We'll see y'all at 12 o'clock.
Yeah. Nice. Always good partner. No,
Hey, Rap, and I missed that. Are we adjourned?
No, we're not.
No, we're not done yet.
Okay.
It's Chloe. Okay. What, I sent you all an email about looking at budget priorities. And we all have budget priorities. And what I propose is that every committee, every board member list their priorities without putting them in order. Just, well, I wrote down a few just from today. I said, community outreach, professional development, after-school childcare. But it's that, and it doesn't have to be any more detailed than that. And just say, this is my priorities, and don't rank order them. And then we'll capture them all, okay? And there'll be some redundancies. And there'll be some interpretations of what, and we have to kind of work those redundancies out. But then we take that big list, and then each one of us, here's my number one, here's my number two, there's my number three, on next to that priority. And then we give it to Robin, put it on a spreadsheet, and then take it by title, like say, for example, community outreach. There was, somebody said 1, somebody said 4, somebody said 6, somebody said 8, down through the whole list. Could be 20, there could be 20 or 30 on there. And then you total them up. And the lowest number, that's the number one priority for a start. It's not the final priority. That's the start. Because then you give it to the board and say, this is what you all said, you ranked them 1 through whatever, and you put it in that order, 1 through however many there are. And then we're going to say to Dr. Rodriguez, you come in and you give us your priorities in order, just for information. He doesn't get to vote. He doesn't get to vote. But then you can then take his big list and our big list, and you can say, okay, and we can talk about it. You can say, well, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to move that one to number 3 or number 4. And you make one more shot at it, putting the numbers in there. It goes back to Robin. And that becomes, at the end, that becomes the list in priority from the full board. That's that way everybody has a say. And I think we'll find, I'll bet you a lot of money right now that the top 10 will be pretty much, we'll all agree on the top 10. We might not agree on number 1, but I'll bet you we agree pretty much in the top 10. And that then gives something we can give to the superintendent as he's working with his staff. This is what the board wants. And this is where the whole board, not just one member, this is what the whole board wants. So does that make sense?
So when do you want?
So what I would ask, if you want to give me some now, I just gave you 3 from the top of my head: community outreach, professional development, after school childcare. We can say achievement gap. Just top of your head, think what other priorities would you?
Early childhood.
Early childhood. Okay.
You already did that school program, right?
Yeah, I got the after school care. But you can say after school program, that's different than after school childcare.
Yeah, that's school program.
After school program, yeah. How about
I was thinking about right choice.
Right choices. Yeah. How about pre-K, early childhood?
I mean,
I mean, it doesn't, you know.
right.
Early childhood education. Professional development. There should think of. I mean, you don't have to do it now. I mean, you know,
I can't, my
but
brain is
you can chew on this
okay.
and then write out your list of what you think that should be a priority and you.
Communication, but
Everything, yeah.
better communication.
Yeah, better communicate. You can say anything that you want to say, just put it all down. And everything you could think, and you know, take a couple days, it doesn't have to be right away. But then send your list to Robin. And we'll start to compile the list with the topics. And once we get everybody's input, then we send it out to you. And then all you got to do next to every topic is you got to look at it and say, oh, okay, there's my number one, there's my number two, and you know, and then she will add it up. And that way we can get some idea. I've used this before, this method before, when I had to get peers, a group of peers to make decisions on priority, because that's hard. It's hard to try to sit and argue which one's number one, because everybody's going to have somewhat different number one.
It's true.
But you can see that a consensus of more people want this one as number one, as a whole, and then it still doesn't mean it's casting concrete. I mean, when we get down to maybe, that's one thing we have to say is, how many of these priorities do we give to Frank? Do we give him every one of them listed in priority, or do we give him 15, or do we give him 10, or whatever? That's something we have to discuss as a full board. And then we have to talk about it. And if some people will change their minds, say, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna move it up there. But there'll have to be a stopping point. Otherwise, we would continue to do this forever, right. You know, but that would give him more guidance than we've given any superintendent that I know of. Yeah. To say, this is what the board as a whole wants you to focus on in your budget process. Okay, so I'll just send out another and I'm going to talk to the finance committee and they can, you know, about the same thing. And just think about it over the next couple days and maybe by next week, get your list in. And you know, nothing wrong with going out to your constituents and your schools and say, what's your priority? There's nothing wrong with that. Right. If you agree with it, to put that down there. But one of the things that happened yesterday that I found out was that it was said to Dr. Stratos, you need to give us your priorities. No, don't go to the staff. The superintendent's the only one that puts his, he gets it from the staff. And he might do the same process, I don't know, but he gets it from the staff. This is for us. Right. This is not for the staff. But, you know, we all talk to the staff too. So, I mean, you know, so they bring up something that you like, put it down. Right. You know, that makes sense.
Yeah, I appreciate your taking this time, because I think sometimes, you know, we forget that new board members and we really don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I read your, but I didn't know what, you know, where this was coming from, why, what we were supposed to do. So I do appreciate your taking the time, because we talk as though everybody knows.
Yeah.
What happened 4 years ago. We
Right.
don't know.
Right.
We don't know.
And you see, and that's when you bring this first list that comes out and we meet together to look at this first list, we look at Frank's list, and you can say, I thought that meant something different. Explain what you meant there, because I think that's higher. That's gonna be higher on my own list.
Right.
So it's a process, and it's not a one-step process, it's about a three-step process to get to the end state. Okay, so I gotta tell you, that's the HR department.
They were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
We are so lucky. We got a finance department and an HR department. It's just gangbusters.
Wow.
They are just gangbusters. And I'll bet you there aren't many districts that are this well taken care of by staff, superintendent, and so on. This is really good stuff.
It was, the way it was done, I really didn't have much questions, because it was broken down to the simple and good ask. And anybody could kind of understand what was presented, and it was thorough. So I want to question about it.
So should we adjourn?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
We go to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
We all want
Yes.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock.
It's 5:30.
Is it 5:30?
Yes, it's 5:30.
It's at 5:30. It's at 5:30.
Yep.
All right. Have a good one.
Molly, we are finished now.
Yes, thank you.